There's 60 minutes of football left in the 2006 football season for Alabama A&M and Arkansas Pine-Bluff as the two teams vie for their first ever SWAC Football Championship. And it's next on ESPNU. From the first spring practices through two-a-days and the dog days of summer, there has been just one goal. A single-minded drumbeat in the back of every player's mind, driving them to overcome every obstacle and endure the highs and lows of every game. And again, breaking tackles, 10-5 touchdown. We may have something going. Here's Banks. Banks at the 20, 10, touchdown. The battle lines have been drawn, the prize within reach. Now it comes down to one game, 4 quarters, to determine whether the Golden Lions of Arkansas Pine-Bluff or the Bulldogs of Alabama A&M have the fortitude to endure one final test in their pursuit of their school's first SWAC championship.
We're at Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama for the SWAC Football Championship as Alabama A&M 8-3 takes on the University of Arkansas Pine-Bluff, also 8-3. Let's check out the final regular season SWAC standings. Here you are in the West, won by Arkansas Pine-Bluff with a 7-2 record in conference play, followed by Southern University. Last year's champ, Grambling State University, Texas Southern, Prairie View. In the East, Alabama A&M with a 6-3 conference record, followed by Jackson State, Alcorn, Mississippi Valley, and Alabama State, all finishing in a tie for second at 5-4. Hello, everyone. Charlie Neal, and I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to Birmingham in the SWAC Football Championship. For Alabama A&M, this is their 4th appearance in the SWAC Championship game. They're still looking for their first win. For Arkansas Pine-Bluff, this is their first ever appearance in the championship game of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. That's the good news. The bad news is they're going to be without their starting quarterback, Chris Wallace, who was this year's Offensive Player of the Year in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. He also has led them to 7 straight victories and a berth in today's contest. The reason he will not start today's ball game is he was involved in an altercation in their last regular season game against a player from Texas Southern University. There's an NCAA rule that says if a player is ejected, in which Wallace was, or disqualified from a game, and he is suspended for the first half of the next game. So therefore, Wallace will not start today's game, but he will play in the second half. Let me bring in my partner, Eddie Robinson, the former NFL linebacker. And Eddie, the pressure falls on the shoulders of a young man named Jonathan Moore, who doesn't have a lot of playing time this year.
Yeah, Jonathan Moore is an inexperienced quarterback. What you have to do is you keep in mind that they had a training camp battle that went all the way down to the last week of training camp. So the coaches have a lot of confidence in his ability to execute a complete game plan. They're going to give him a chance to win the first half of this football game and not just manage it.
And you're talking about pressure. He's going up against the Alabama A&M team that's ranked #1 in the conference in scoring defense. So there's a lot of pressure on him, and that defense is led by an all-conference player, linebacker Johnny Baldwin.
Yeah, Johnny Baldwin, a 2-time all-conference selection. Very speedy and exciting linebacker. He has 99 total tackles, 3 sacks on the year. He's going to play with a chip on his shoulder today because the Bulldogs fans and the coaches feel like he should have been the SWAC Defensive Player of the Year for 2006.
And Alabama A&M, they're poised, they're ready. Coach Anthony Jones has them all poised for their first ever possible championship, and so does their opponent.
Represent UAPB, we represent your families, we represent Pine-Bluff, we represent God, man.
Yes, sir.
That's what it's all about right there.
Yes, sir.
Be physical. Fair, square, in between the whistles. Hit them, hit them, hit them, fair and square.
Yes, sir.
Fair and square. Take the last step. 8-0. 60 minutes. 60 minutes to the top. 60 minutes to the top.
Let's go, baby! Let's go, baby!
Champions on 1, 2, 3.
Champions!
Back here in Birmingham, Alabama, the 2006 edition of the SWAC Football Championship. Third member of our broadcast team is down on the field, former NFL quarterback Jay Walker. Let's go down to Jay now, Jay.
Well, Charlie, we talked about Chris Wallace not having the ability to start this football game, and Coach Mo Forte wanted to make it clear, although his actions are not what he expected, it's no indication of what type of person that Chris Wallace is. Matter of fact, he gave Coach Chris Wallace the ultimate compliment by saying, he's such an outstanding kid on and off the field, I would even let him marry my daughter. I don't know if you can sing any more higher praise for the character of Chris Wallace than that. Charlie, back to you.
All right. Well, it looks like Arkansas Pine-Bluff is going to receive the opening kick. And apparently, Alabama A&M won the toss because Mo Forte, or it's hard to say, he says we'll take the ball regardless of what's going on. As you look at Anthony Jones, in his 5th season as the head coach of the Bulldogs of Alabama A&M. And this one is underway. Going through the end zone, Dedrick Poole unable to field it. And it'll come out to the 20-yard line. It'll be 1st down and 10 for the Golden Lions of Arkansas Pine-Bluff. Mo Forte is their head football coach, but he's been coaching up in the press box. As you look at Jonathan Moore, who's getting the start today, a sophomore from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, went to Dalloway High. Not a lot of game experience, as we said. He's only played in 4 games coming in to today's ball game. So they're starting at their own 20, 1st down and 10. And he's back to pass on 1st down, throws it down the middle, and it's in and out of the hands of the receiver, the intended receiver down there. Just couldn't hold on. As we look at the starting lineups, Martell Mallett's in the backfield along with Charles Alley, the fullback. Dedrick Poole along with Jason Jones, 2 good receivers, and Emmanuel Frazier is the tight end. The offensive line, pretty good group up front, especially led by the center, Jackie Skipper, a senior, along with Brian Bevels, Sestata, Terrence Billings, and Jamel Bass. It is 2nd down and 10. From their own 20. And here's a delayed draw to Martell Mallett. Mallett maybe a yard, and that is it. Defense stiffened for Alabama A&M. And speaking of their defense, the down linemen Chris Traylor, Kevin Lockhart, Justin Harper, and Dominique Cummings. Harper, an interesting story. Antonio Nelson, along with Avery Mullen and Johnny Baldwin, we spoke of earlier, are the linebackers. And the secondary, a good group with Maurice Thomas, Al Donaldson, Marcus Black, and Frank Moore. Frank Moore with 6 interceptions so far this year. 3rd down.
Have to see if they give Chris Wallace a chance to complete this in the air, if they're just going to run a
Chris
draw.
Wallace.
Well, you're right, Jonathan Moore. I'm expecting Chris Wallace also.
Moore under pressure, decides he's going to run it. Gets the 1st down across the 30 to the 31-yard line, and 10-yard gain on the run.
And that's what you need to do to get your confidence going. If you're a Jonathan Moore that hasn't played a lot, I mean, hey, no one's open downfield, just take off and running. Use your athletic ability. Man, that is Johnny Baldwin that he's able to make miss right there and get the 1st down. Very important for him to have some early success, just to have some confidence so he can complete some passes in this football game.
Jonathan Moore, there's Wallace on the sideline cheering his team on. He knows he'll get a chance in the 2nd half. Moore just needs to keep him close. Mallett trying to turn the right side, gains about 3 yards out to the 34-yard line. Mo Forte working up in the press box. He's had some health issues this year, and since then he has been coaching from upstairs. He said it's a lot less stressful upstairs. He can't get after the officials and a lot of other things. So he'll hang out in the press box. He said a lot of people think he should be up there anyhow.
I said, hey, they've been winning ever since he's been in the press box, so he may stay up there next year.
Mallett dropped for a loss. Not much doing there as he is hit by Jimmy Richardson, number 51, the junior from Orrville, Alabama, Keith High. He's starting at middle linebacker. Mullen moved to the defensive end today. And Cummings has been banged up with a sprained ankle. He hurt that against Prairie View. in their last regular season game, so they had to make some switches on the defensive side of the football. That'll bring up a 3rd down and 10. Ball at the 31-yard line. From the shotgun. Under pressure. Will not get it off.
It's Christopher Traylor right there, Charlie. And I'm going to tell you, this is a guy that wasn't able to play in the first game against Arkansas Pine-Bluff. And he is a big-time pass rusher. Comes into the game with 8.5 sacks. And they knew that he would be a difference maker in this football game. You can see just the speed coming around the corner and just the perseverance to actually get the sack on Jonathan Moore. He kind of reminds you of Robert Mathis. Of course, he's the star for the Indianapolis Colts, who used to be a defensive end at Alabama A&M.
And you talk about Traylor. He was a preseason all-conference selection, but was suspended because he got in some off-campus trouble for 4 games this year. And that's why he wasn't able to play in the first time that they met. And it takes an Alabama A&M bounce, and finally Arkansas Pine-Bluff downs it at about the 46, 47-yard line. So it'll be good field position for Alabama A&M as they get the ball for the first time this afternoon, led by Kelsey Luke. Kelsey Luke, a junior from Phoenix City, Alabama, transferred in here from Auburn University. He has a brother also who plays on this team, Nick Luke, and they have the ball 1st down and 10 at their own 46-yard line. Tamar Scott in the backfield. And it's play action, rolling to the right, throwing across the field. Looking, almost intercepted. Broken up. Good defensive play downfield. And I believe it was Calvin Moore. There he is, number 31, who broke it up.
Wow, good job on the 1st down play action by Alabama A&M, taking the shot deep, running a deep post route, but just a good job for the defender of having that closing speed to come back. The guy was open for a second, but hey, if you wait too long and the ball is in the air that long, hey, these guys are going to make plays. Calvin Moore comes into the game with 3 interceptions, almost had a 4th on that play.
That pass intended for Thomas Harris. Kelsey Luke rolling left, looking to run, and he will not get much back to the line of scrimmage. And that's about it. Maybe a half a yard loss on the play. And you see big number 54, Justin Bass, the middle linebacker, leading tackler for this Arkansas Pine-Bluff team in there on the stop defensively.
Yeah, and Justin Bass is going to have his hands full today because Alabama A&M is averaging 172 rushing yards per game, which is 2nd in the conference. They're going to have a lot of running backs that's going to try to attack him in Tamar Scott and Nick Luke.
And it is 3rd down now, 3rd and 10 we'll call it. Working from the shotgun this time is Kelsey Luke. Rolling to his right. Throws complete to Harris for very close to a 1st down. We'll see where they mark it. He had to get to the 44-yard line. They're going to mark it right at about the 43. So they do pick up the 1st down on the 3rd down play. Thomas Harris playing in place of Emmanuel Edwards, who's out with a broken ankle. And there you look at the backs and receivers in Scott O'Neal, Harris, Kevin Francis, and Charles Moody. The offensive line of Turner, Jeffrey Johnson, Chris Franklin, Christian Smith, and James Sanders. This time Tamar Scott trying the left side. First run for him today. And Tamar Scott stopped by Remo Gay, the strong side linebacker, number 38.
Expect to see a lot of Tamar Scott, of course. Him and Nick Luke, man, they have over 1,200 rushing yards. Tamar Scott has 723. Nick Luke has 566. So combined, both of these guys have a very formidable rushing attack that Alabama A&M likes to use to wear down defenders.
Anthony Jones, you see him on the sideline in his 5th year as the head man, 8th year as a head coach overall. Low snap, Kelsey Luke on the keeper. The quarterback still on his feet and inside the 30. And all the way down to about the 27, 28-yard line of Arkansas Pine-Bluff. As you look at the defense, Michael Johnson, Andre Jackson, Torian Spencer, and Chauncey Brown are the down linemen. The linebackers, Gay, Bass, and Timothy Turner. We've called Gay and Bass's name already. The secondary, Aaron Eugene, Amp Boone, John Keefe, and Calvin Moore. Their interception leader is Stuart Franks. He has 6, and he's a nickelback.
And I asked Coach, hey, why hasn't he starting? He said, hey, that's 6 interceptions, but it's a lot of other plays that may not have resulted in the interception.
Here's a pass over the middle, and this one is incomplete. Or is it? They're calling it a completion. I believe it's the tight end, Charles Moody, came up with a big catch. It looked like it was being knocked away by the linebacker, and Moody comes up with a big catch.
Good coverage by the linebacker here. Charles Moody just using that big body. See, when you're a tight end, you can box those guys out, but it's an excellent job of getting your hands underneath the ball. They show it to the referee and move the get some completion yards for Alabama A&M.
Remo Gay was the man covering on the play. And remember, this drive started at their own 46-yard line, and they've moved all the way down to the 22 of Arkansas Pine-Bluff. Here's Luke on the keeper, trying the right side, and not much doing over there. As a couple of Golden Lions come up to make the stop. Remo Gay along with Calvin Moore there defensively.
And that's what I like about Kelsey Luke. I mean, here's the guy. He has 409 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns. They'll use him for some design runs. Actually, you see the big tackles pull around, and he'll follow up behind them in the shotgun formation. So he's a guy that's actually another runner in the backfield. Good all-around quarterback. Has a good presence of the game. Knows how not to make a mistake, and he always seems to make the big play at the right time.
4th in the conference in total offense, 6th in passing efficiency, and back to pass right now. Out in the flat, as it complete, Tamar Scott. Maybe a yard gain on the play, or is a first down. And it is a first down. They move the sticks with that completion. And Justin Bass was there on the stop defensively. Kelsey Luke, a very impressive young man, came into today's game with 4,264 career yards. And it is passing, 36 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. And he's also run for over 1,000 yards. Make it over 1,200 yards rushing coming in. From the I formation, they give to the fullback, O'Neal, Travis O'Neal, and he doesn't go far. And you talk about to Anthony Jones about players he's going to lose this year. He's going to lose his starting backfield plus his second string running backs in terms of Nick Lucas, a senior, Tamar Scott is a senior, the fullback, Travis O'Neal, who just carried that time as a senior, as is Jacques Payan, who's also a senior, the other fullback.
Yeah, it's going to be tough next year when you lose those guys with that senior leadership, but I like Kelsey Luke as a junior coming back next year with a senior. Hey, if you're running back in high school and you want to get a chance to run the ball, go to Alabama A&M because you'll get a lot of touches.
Luke under pressure now, steps up. We're looking for somewhere to go, and he is tripped up inside the 20-yard line, and coming up to make the stop was Ant Boone, the senior, number 2 from Dallas, Texas. He was a walk-on 3 years ago. Got homesick, left, and decided he was going to come back and finish his career.
And of course, you want to get those guys back into school. I mean, one thing to get homesick and go home, but just make sure you come back. You know what I'm saying, Charlie? And Ant Boone is a very tough and physical player here. I mean, 2 interceptions, but 71 tackles from a safety position. So you know he's that 8th guy in the box, the one that they like to get down that's unaccounted for, who can make those big hits.
It is 3rd down. Out in the flat. It is complete to Francis. And Francis down to about the 11-yard line before Justin Bass was there to make the stop defensively for Pine Bluff. So the defense stiffens, and it brings up a 4th down. The ball will be spotted at the 12-yard line. It'll be a 29-yard field goal attempt for.
This is something that we don't see a lot of from Alabama A&M. This is only their 4th field goal attempt of the year. So
yeah, Jeremy Lacia, he's only made 1 of 3. And that was a 20-yarder. This is a 29-yarder, which is blocked. And coming up with the block was Calvin Moore.
I guess that's why we have only seen 3 attempts from Alabama A&M this year.
There's a timeout on the field. No score. We're in the first quarter here with 4:33 to go.
Sportsmanship and integrity. Dedicated fans.
A commitment to excellence.
Historic rivalries.
Time-honored traditions.
Prominent institutions of higher learning.
A commitment to the community.
Courage and perseverance.
On the field.
And off the field achievements. Individually and collectively, we are the SWAC.
We are the SWAC.
Bergwood, you're on the goalpost truck, you're on the car, I'm on lookout. Bergwood, are you wearing spandex?
Yeah, I got them out of my mom's drawer.
It's very sexy.
You think?
No score. We talked about Lycia. and they hadn't kicked a lot of field goals. This was his first attempt since the 3rd game of the season against Mississippi Valley. That was a 31-yarder.
Yeah, and that's Calvin Moore. I mean, he's doing a great job of just coming around that corner and skimming real low and getting that block. It looked like it was a low snap that was on the ground, so that may have affected the kick.
So the ball will go over to Arkansas Pine-Bluff. They dodged the bullet at their own 19-yard line, where it'll be 1st down and 10. Remember, they're playing without Chris Wallace in the first half. Jonathan Moore gets the call. The long pass downfield. And it's out of bounds. Nowhere close to the intended receiver, Dedrick Poole. And here's Chris Wallace on the sideline, junior out of Kankakee, Illinois. Was the number 3 quarterback the last 2 years and won the job, as you said earlier, in training camp. In fact, coach didn't decide on who his starting quarterback was going to be until 1 week before the regular season. He's led them to 7 straight wins this year, most ever in the school history. Got into that altercation with a player from Texas Southern. And as you said, you know, coach said you wouldn't want to find a nicer kid, and that's so uncharacteristic of him. In fact, they had 2 players that were suspended in that game. Aaron Henson, defensive lineman, also has to sit out the first half as Martell Mallett gets the call and goes to the right and gains maybe a yard. But they didn't happen at the same time in the game, but they both will sit out the first half of today's game.
And it's very unfortunate that Chris Wallace can't play in the first half of this game, but the rules are very clear, and it says if you get in a fight that you have to sit out the first half of that next game. I mean, a lot of the Pine Bluff fans were thinking that the commissioner could maybe overturn the judgment or something like that, but it was strictly an NCAA rule in the violation. And I think Chris Wallace understands the magnitude of his actions and is willing to take the punishment, and is just the biggest cheerleader on the sideline and can't wait till he can get into the football game.
Certainly can. Under pressure. Fumble. And let's see, it may be Alabama A&M coming up with it, maybe Avery Mullen. Let's see, nothing yet from the officials. Yes, it'll be Alabama A&M. Here's Avery Mullen, the junior, number 2 tackler on the team out of Birmingham, Alabama, playing in front of the hometown crowd.
Yeah, and that's what you expect out of defensive coordinator Bronski Towns. Hey, you know you have an inexperienced quarterback, bring the pressure on him.
So the first turnover of the ball game goes in favor of Alabama A&M. There's still no score here in Birmingham. No score here, 3:29 remaining first quarter. The ball at the 14-yard line, and Alabama A&M got it because of a fumble and the pressure that was put on by Antonio Nelson there, 23.
Yeah, 23 coming around the corner, but then Johnny Baldwin.
Johnny Baldwin was also there as Travis O'Neal gets the little swing pass out into the flat. And Timothy Turner was the man there to stop him defensively. You're talking about takeaways and giveaways. Arkansas Pine-Bluff came into the game +7 in takeaways and giveaways. They fumbled 17 times. That's only the 12th time they've lost a fumble this year. And they were ranked 17th in the nation in all of Division I AA in turnover margin.
Yeah, and +7 led the conference, and that always is a key to victory. Those good teams are always in the positive with that turnover margin.
Here's a handoff to Tamar Scott, and he's hit in the backfield, and the first man to come up to hit him was Jared Don. Let's go down to Jay Walker.
Charlie and Eddie, going into this game, the big story was how was the young kid Jonathan Moore going to play in this on such a big stage? Well, down here on field level early, he's already made 2 critical mistakes. On the deep pass to Dedrick Poole, Poole was open, but he held the ball too long in the pocket, giving the wide receiver no opportunity to make a play. And the turnover there, which could turn into points for Alabama A&M. He's got to settle down and find his rhythm so the Golden Lions can have a chance at halftime. Back to you.
Well, yes, going to have to settle down, as you said, as Tamar Scott gets the call once again. And he gets it down to about the 12-yard line. Remo Gay, number 38, there on the stop. Here's a young man that moved from strong safety because of his aggressiveness. He's a walk-on. He moved from West Memphis, Arkansas, to West Memphis, Arkansas last March. And now we have another field goal attempt coming for Lycia. He's already had 1 block. This one will be an 18-yard attempt. It's up. It's long enough, and it is good. So Lycia puts Alabama A&M on the board with the 18-yard field goal. Back in a moment.
What's up?
You couldn't ask for better weather for a football championship game here in Birmingham, Alabama at Legion Field, along with Eddie Robinson and Jay Walker. I'm Charlie Neal, and glad you could join us for this 8th edition of the SWAC Football Championship, with Alabama A&M just taking the lead on a 28-yard field goal by Jeremy Lycia. And Arkansas Pine-Bluff, with that 7-game win streak, is a school record. It's the first time they've ever won 7 straight games. 5 of those they had to come from behind, but the most important thing is they won. As you saw a shot there of a very dangerous Jedrick Poole, the young man who transferred from Arkansas. And it is not fielded by Poole this time. It's brought out across the 20, 30, up to the 39-yard line. A good return that time by Jason Jones, a very dangerous return man in his own right, who came in averaging 22 yards per kickoff return, a junior from Forest City, Arkansas. Quite a story for that young man, Jason Jones. He was almost cut last year by the receiver coach, and somehow he managed to hang on, and now he's starting.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big play receiver. I mean, he's an all-conference receiver, and you got to expect that he'll get in the end zone because he has 11 touchdowns, which is tied for second in the conference this year.
Third possession for Arkansas Pine-Bluff from their own 39. Mallett trying to go to the right side, dances and maybe a yard or two, and that's it as he gets outside the 40-yard line before Johnny Baldwin was there to make the stop. This is the second time, Eddie, that these two teams have met this year. First meeting versus Alabama A&M. Arkansas Pine-Bluff won that one by 2 points, 23-21. In fact, led 10-7 at the half after trailing 7-0 in the first quarter. So that was one of those come-from-behind games. But UAPB kicked the 48-yard field goal with 16 seconds left in the half. They took the halftime lead, increased their lead to 23-7 on a pair of Chris Wallace and Jason Jones bombs that we just talked about. Jason Jones had covered 35 and 63 yards, but Kelsey Luke rallied the team, but it fell a little short, and they lost by 2 points, and this one goes into the dirt, intended for Jason Jones. And again, as Jay mentioned earlier, the young man's got to settle down.
Yeah, Jonathan Moore just needs to settle down. He is a good quarterback, and he just has to relax. Doesn't have to try to win the football game. Unfortunately, you're only down by 3 points after 2 mistakes on 2 separate drives. So I would expect that they get Martell Mallett more involved in this football game. Keep in mind, this kid has over 1,100 yards rushing and leads the conference with 14 touchdowns, so he needs to get his touches also.
They only had 2 1,000-yard rushers in the conference this year. Mallett, one of them. Jay Peck, the other young man from Alabama State.
Yes, I would expect to see more of Martell Mallett until you can get Chris Wallace back into this football game.
And it'll bring up second down. There's the pass, and this one's complete for a first down. And it's across midfield and down to the 44-yard line, and the completion goes to Demetrius Beverly, the junior from Park High here in Birmingham, his 19th reception of the year. Stopped by Bobby McClain.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Demetrius Beverly, just a good job of catching the football for your quarterback. I mean, you know his confidence is going to be shaky early on. Well, somebody needs to make a play. And he's from right here at Parker High School, which is right up the street. And, of course, he was high school teammates with Ulysses Banks, who was a dangerous return man for Alabama A&M.
First and 10. First time that Arkansas Pine-Bluff has crossed the midfield stripe. And again, the running is very, very tough for Mallett as Avery Mullen is there to make the stop. And that's going to be the end of one quarter. And we're here in Birmingham. Lycia had one blocked, hit one for 28, and it's 3-0 after one.
Lakers. Heat.
As we start the second quarter, 3-0 Alabama A&M on top. Let's go down to Jay.
Well, guys, I'm not leaving my day job. I'm not going to go out there and become a hammer man. But what I'm holding here now, the key for the Alabama A&M success this season was started by strength and conditioning coach James Hester. He said the motto for the team is we're going to hammer out a SWAC conference title. You see 8 strips of tape on this hammer. They recognize the 8 regular season victories that the Bulldogs had. But I guess normally you would say 8 is enough. But in the case of the Alabama A&M Bulldogs this season, the 9th strip of tape representing a SWAC championship is the most important piece of tape at all. Guys, back to you.
All right, they won over Tennessee State, Grambling, Texas Southern, Stillman, Alabama State, Jackson, and Alcorn. That accounts for the 8 wins. You saw a shot of James Hester, who played at South Carolina State. I think he played against Jay Walker in college. And there's Pass play down the middle of the field. Man's out there. Touchdown. Jason Jones.
Big play, Jason Jones. I mean, that's our guy. I told you can expect him to get in the end zone at some point. Has 11 touchdowns on the year, and just about every 3 catches leads to a touchdown with Jason Jones.
44 yards. Jason Jones. They were talking about every 3rd or 4th or 5th catch he gets into the end zone, and there is proof.
Wow, and with a throw by Jonathan Moore, I mean, he stands in there and takes some big shots from the Alabama A&M defense and still delivers a strike in the post. No deep safety. He puts it out there. Jason Jones able to make that catch and get in the end zone.
Point after is up by John Heflin. He's made 36 of 38 this year. And Arkansas Pine-Bluff takes the lead 7-3. What a throw by the sophomore from Pine-Bluff.
What?
35 receptions this year, 12 touchdowns. Every 3rd time he touches the ball, he gets into the end zone. He had a stellar high school career at Forest City High in Forest City, Arkansas, and afterwards signed to play at the University of Memphis. But he never got on the field while he was there. So he left, went back home, not sure if he wanted to play football again. Then a friend who played baseball at Arkansas Pine-Bluff talked him into going there to go to school. He still wasn't sure if he wanted to play football. He didn't want to get his did want to get his education. He finally decided to try out for the team. Almost got cut by Craig Ray, the offensive receivers coach. And you see, they're happy he's here. From the 4-yard line. The return for Alabama A&M. Ulysses Banks, a very dangerous return man who's returned 2 for 90-plus yards this year for touchdowns. Let's look at the quarterback comparison so far in the ball game.
Of course, Jonathan Moore, I mean, he's an inexperienced guy. You would expect him to have the early mistakes, which he did, but he comes back with that 44-yard touchdown pass, and now the 1 touchdown is the difference. And Kelsey Luke, don't count him out. I mean, he's a 4-quarter guy in the second half. He'll make some big plays on the ground as well as in the air.
First down and 10. Arkansas Pine-Bluff on defense. Now they're going with Nick Luke, the brother of the quarterback, Kelsey Luke, who gets a first down. Out to the 39-yard line before Amp Boone came up to make the stop.
Wow, and Amp Boone, I mean, watch the safety fill the lane. I mean, good up front blocking. Nick Luke coming through the line, but man, that's a hit, and he's down for no more yards. I mean, Amp Boone is a guy with 71 total tackles from the safety position. I really like the way this guy comes up and fills the hole. Still a first down run from A&M, but a safety has to be able to limit the damage when the guys break through that initial line of scrimmage.
Nick Luke, the second back in the eye right now. His brother Kelsey calling plays, and again Nick Luke gets the call. Stiffened by Justin Bass this time, who led the charge defensively for Arkansas Pine-Bluff.
And Charlie, as this game progresses, I mean, you can tell Pine-Bluff with the 7-3 lead. I mean, they live by the big play. And that's what Coach Jones talked about from the first ball game. We can't give up the big plays to Arkansas Pine-Bluff. A&M wants to be real steady, control the clock, ball control. But at the same time, when you do that, you still can't give up big plays by your defense. And now what they have to do is try to settle down, run this clock, and get things moving once again.
And you look at the yardage for the two teams, pretty even so far. Flag is down. We have movement on the offensive side. And when we talked to Mo Forte and asked him about his quarterbacks, and this is the first penalty of this ball game. Keith Moore is our referee. We asked him which quarterback is the better thrower. And he said Moore actually maybe has a stronger arm than Chris Wallace.
Ball start. Number 12 on offense. 5-yard penalty. PT down.
Kevin Francis got a little bit too anxious that time and moved, so it's the first penalty of the ball game for either team. Ball spotted back now at the 36-yard line as you look at Anthony Jones. Quite a few stories between both teams. Monty Coleman, the defensive coordinator for Arkansas Pine-Bluff, was a teammate of Anthony Jones when they both played for the Washington Redskins. Here's a pass complete to Mitchell on the near side, and Mitchell across the 40 to about the 43-yard line. So they both played on a Super Bowl championship team. Monty Coleman, of course, been the linebacker coach here at Arkansas Pine-Bluff the last 3 years, and this year takes over as defensive coordinator.
You know, Charlie, just to follow up that point, when I talked to Coach Jones about when he played with Monty Coleman, did he ever think that Monty Coleman would turn into a coach? Because many former players aren't great coaches. But he said, you know, one thing about Monty Coleman is he's a good man and he's caring, and he feels that those are qualities you have to become a successful coach. Back to you.
All right. He went to the University of Central Arkansas. Here's a pass. What a catch, but what a completion. And downfield, it is Stockdale on the reception. Gerard Stockdale, Stuart Franks was there, the nickelback, to make the stop defensively.
Yeah, good throw and catch. I mean, here, Kelsey Luke is working up the middle of the seam. The safety doesn't get there in time. Hey, you know the big hit is coming. Hey, catch the ball anyway. Good job using your hands and actually bringing that ball into your body and not losing control.
That was good for 26 yards on that pass play. Luke dancing to the outside, throws it as he's going out of bounds in front of his own bench. Coaches are looking for a flag, wanting a flag from the officials, thinking it may have been a late hit.
Good job by Luke just getting the ball out of his hand, not to take the sack and the loss of a couple yards. Now you have a 2nd and 10. But A&M is doing what they need to do. They're controlling the ball, controlling the clock, kind of settling everybody down, realizing that you just gave up a big play on defense. You have to respond with your offense and try to make some more plays to come back and counter the Arkansas Pine-Bluff offensive attack.
2nd down and 10. Pass going into the end zone for Francis, and that goes incomplete. Don't forget ESPNU's coverage of college basketball continues with a doubleheader tonight. First at 6 Eastern, Arizona State, the Sun Devils face Xavier and the Musketeers. And at 8 Eastern, the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest face the DePaul Blue Demons. Holiday Hoops presented by K Jewelers tonight on ESPNU. And for more information, log on to ESPNU.com. Kelsey Luke, 7 of 9 in the passing department today, and now a timeout being called by Alabama A&M. He has 12 rushing yards, and he's completed 7 of 9 passes. 11:51 the time remaining here in the 2nd quarter. 7-3 Pine-Bluff leading A&M. 11:51 remaining 2nd quarter. 7-3 Arkansas Pine-Bluff leading Alabama A&M, and Alabama A&M loves tight games. Their average margin in losses is 3.6 points, and in wins 7.4. So they like to play it close to the vest. I'm sure that doesn't bode well for your heart if you're a coach.
Well, you want to blow everyone out, but I mean the SWAC has been so competitive this year. It's hard to just blow teams out. Every team has a chance to win.
From the shotgun, the completion to Mitchell on the inside counter, and Mitchell gets down to the 30-yard line. Maybe the 29 is where they're going to mark it. And it was Calvin Moore, who's been very active from that cornerback spot today, coming up to make the stop. Number 31, the senior from Parkview High in Little Rock. They say he's the best cover corner on the team.
Yeah, I tell you what I really like about this Pine-Bluff defense, look at all of the gold jerseys in the picture. They get 10 people around the football. Whenever you have a defense that runs to the football, good things are going to happen. Now, here you have a 4th down attempt, and Alabama A&M has 31 4th down attempts on the year already, which leads the conference.
They're 17 of 31, 55% in 4th down conversions, and this may take them back a little further because the flags are flying, and that's going to be the 2nd penalty on them for a false start.
Yeah, but in this situation, you almost have to still go for it, because if you punt it, it'll probably go into the end zone.
False start. 7-6 on offense. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
Left tackle Darius Turner was the man who moved, so it'll bring up, as you said, Eddie, still a 4th down. It just moves them 5 yards further away, and it brings up a 4th and 14.
Just a bigger challenge, but you can't really kick a field goal. You know your kicker doesn't have the range, and if you punt it and it goes into the end zone, it's only a 14-yard punt.
Moody, the tight end, was the man in motion. Luke going from the shotgun, and another flag. It's going to be
well, now you
24.
might have to punt it because you're another 5 yards back.
It's going to be 4th and 18 now, or 19.
Yeah, now I think you have to punt it.
Let's see who moved. Was it the man in motion, the tight end?
False start. Number 70 on the offense. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
They're taking turns. Christian Smith was the man, the #1 first-team all-conference selection, number 70 on the right side. Look at the top of your screen. That it said number 70.
One of those big guys are moving.
Yeah, well, they're going to punt it this time. And they punt to the corner. And it goes into the end zone. Unfortunately, they almost got it to fall, but not quite.
That's something that just really makes a coach just scratch his head. When you have 2 offensive linemen who have false starts on consecutive plays, 2 penalties like that, you're like, man, can we even get the snap off? And what A&M has to do is settle down. I mean, they're only down 7-3, but the dynamics of this game is both of these teams feel like they're the favorite. And that's something that Coach Jones from A&M talked about, why this game would be such a key matchup and so important, because you have 2 teams who feel like they should have won the last game, and you have 2 teams who feel like they're the better team today. So you have to settle it on the football field.
Well, you're right. Arkansas Pine-Bluff has won 7 straight games. Alabama A&M had won 4 straight, or 3 straight actually, after losing to Pine-Bluff, and then lost their last regular season game 13-7 to Prairie View. Malik gets the call, and the running has been very tough for him today. He gained maybe 4 yards on that play. And you talk about Arkansas Pine-Bluff. They started the season. They lost 3 of their first 4 games. They lost their season opener to Mississippi Valley 10-0. Then they beat Alcorn 42-14 before losing 31-13 to Alabama State, and then 48-16 to Southern Illinois. After that, Coach challenged them to win 8 straight games, and that included the SWAC Championship. And they came through. They won 7 straight games coming into today's game. A win today would be number 8.
And I've been on a lot of teams where the coach says, let's win them all, but very rarely does it happen.
You have to believe, right? This one, Dedrick Poole tried to run before he caught the ball, and he was hit by Jonathan McConaughey.
I tell you, Coach Mo Forte, I mean, he did a great job of selling it to his players to believe in that concept, but we can win them all.
Listen to the hit.
Charlie, that's why you go in and catch it anyway, because those guys are going to hit you whether you catch it or drop it. I mean, man.
Well, we're talking about Coach. He challenged the team after their loss to Southern Illinois to win those games. That streak included back-to-back wins over teams that have played for the SWAC Championship last season, Grambling and Alabama A&M. So those were some big wins. Here's a little pass out the flat, complete to Malik, and Malik will get out to about the 28-yard line, and not be enough for a first down, as McConaughey again was there to make the stop defensively, and it'll bring up a punting situation for Arkansas Pine-Bluff, and that'll bring on Andrew Bergeron, the first time we've seen him today.
Yep, and he is averaging 41.4 yards per punt, and Coach Mo Forte has a lot of confidence in him and said he's been doing a great job all year long.
He thinks that here's a kid that may have an opportunity to play at the next level. He's a junior from New Orleans, Louisiana. He had a 66-yarder this year against Grambling. Deep man to receive the kick. Here's Kevin Francis. He drives him all the way back. Did he touch it? And he's hit back at the 6-yard line. They'll mark it at the 8. Backs to the wall for Alabama A&M. Good special teams coverage for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. 7-3 our score.
Imagine.
7-3 our score, and Emmanuel Edwards is normally the deep man to return punts for Arkansas Pine-Bluff, but he's on crutches. Let's go down to Jay Walker with more.
You know, we've made a lot about the fact that Arkansas Pine-Bluff's quarterback has had to sit out and watch the first half of this game. Well, imagine if you're Emmanuel Edwards having to watch the whole game. He broke his ankle against Alcorn State, and he said since then it's just been hard. It's been hard to watch a team practice in preparation for a SWAC championship, and he said he can't even imagine what he's going to be feeling on game day watching his team compete without him. The senior will never play college football again for Alabama A&M, but the good news for him, he'll be off the crutches in 3 weeks, and he's already got an internship lined up as a student teacher. He's a physical education major. Guys, back to you.
All right. Well, he's a great story and a great kid to talk to. I had a chance to talk to him a little bit, and Stockdale made the reception on that one, and They came close to getting a first down. They may move the sticks. They are. It's a first down for Alabama A&M, so they get out of the shadow of the end zone. As you look at Emmanuel Edwards, who came into the day's game, when you talk about his season stats, 16 catches, 201 yards, 12.6 yards per reception and a touchdown. And as a punt returner, Edwards returned 8 for 108 yards and returned 6 kicks for an average of 22 yards per kick return. Right now, Kevin Francis is the man in motion for Alabama A&M. Kelsey Luke going to the air, has it complete, and hit immediately after the catch was the tight end, Moody, and he was hit by Remo Gay, the linebacker, who's also been very active today. When you talk about Monty Coleman being their coach, here's a young man that played 16 years in the NFL, played with the Washington Redskins for all of those years. In fact, the only player to play for that team other than Darryl Green for that long a period of time.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost unheard of these days. I mean, a 16-year NFL career. I played 11 years, and I thought that was tough. I couldn't imagine playing another 5. And to do it for all one team, that's very impressive.
And we got offsides. This one is going to go against Torian Stenser. I don't believe, well, unless he was drawn offsides, number 96.
Now, this is a change of pace because A&M is coming out with a no huddle with 5 wide receivers, and we don't see that a lot from these guys.
Offside, 96 on the defense. We had contact, 5-yard penalty, second down.
First penalty against Arkansas Pine-Bluff today. There you look at Monty Coleman. 4 Super Bowl appearances for Monty. He went there with Mark Rippon as a quarterback, Joe Theismann, and Doug Williams. He won 3 of the 4.
It's a good percentage.
That's not bad. Some people don't get there at all. Here's Luke being chased. Throws it. Has it complete in the middle of the field. And down to the 41-yard line. Make it to 43. Let's see where they mark it. Amp Boone is on the tackle of Anthony Mitchell, who's been pretty active today. In terms of receiving, that's Mitchell's 3rd reception.
Good job by Kelsey Luke, able to buy time. And when that happens, guys start losing their assignments for defensively. And you see a guy that's just wide open in the middle of the field. He's able to hit Anthony Mitchell, who gets a knee right there. Couldn't get any run after the catch. But Kelsey Luke buying time with his feet. He'll find someone open if you don't get pressure on him.
10 of 13 in the passing department, 75 yards for Kelsey Luke today, who's working from the shotgun on this one. Going to the air once again, has it complete in front of his own bench. And this is Kevin Francis with the reception. That's his 3rd reception of the day.
Now keep in mind, Alabama A&M, they're averaging 172 rushing yards per game, 2nd in the conference. And now they're coming out with a 5 wide receiver package with a no huddle. And it's not the end of the game or the half. So it's somewhat of a surprise. I'm sure it's catching Arkansas Pine-Bluff off guard because this isn't something that you really prepare against for a team like Alabama A&M.
5:27 remaining, or 6, I should say 27 remaining. Here's Luke going upstairs. This overthrows everybody. Closest man to it was Stockdale, and he overthrew him.
You know, Eddie and Charlie, I hear you guys talking about Alabama A&M going to this no-huddle look. Well, from a quarterback's perspective, the coverages get easier and simpler to read. Arkansas Pine-Bluff has not changed their coverage, so I think what Anthony Jones and staff see is a weakness and something they can exploit with the passing game, and that's why they're continuing to go with 5 wide receivers, no huddle, because they're getting very vanilla coverages, and they feel that they can exploit them for the big play.
And that's a very important fact, and we'll see if they'll be able to convert this 3rd down situation. 3rd and 4, and it is a first down right at the 44-yard line.
And you keep in mind, you know,
again,
Monty Coleman is an old 16-year NFL linebacker, and one thing linebackers don't like, guys like myself, is when you start trying to get cute with all of this no-huddle stuff. So the last 2 plays, he sends pressure. So look for him to start blitzing. I mean, I can know, when I play for Buddy Ryan, he gets frustrated, we're going to send some blitzes at you to try to settle things down. But it's hard, like Jay said, when you have that substitution problem, teams are going no-huddle, you can't get your personnel in the game. So you have to just play the same coverage over and over again, and it definitely gives the quarterback quarterback a big advantage when he sees that same coverage.
Well, we were talking to Monty the other day, and he says, you know, before I was just a linebacker coach. Now as a defensive coordinator, you know, as a linebacker coach, I was only responsible for the linebackers. Now I have to worry about the defensive ends, the linemen, the secondary safeties, cornerbacks, and everybody. So he's got the whole ball of wax, but he's doing a great job, and he's a great motivator here. And of course, he's talked about possibly going and coaching in the NFL and maybe even being a head coach on the collegiate level. And he has all the tools and the background to do that.
Yeah, and Coach Mo Forte, I mean, of course, he coached in the NFL also. And he said the kids just really respect the guy. I mean, you're talking about a guy that has 3 Super Bowl rings, has played 16 years in the NFL. I mean, when you come into a meeting room and you're addressing 18 and 19-year-old kids, I mean, they have no choice but to listen to what you have to say and buy into it. And he's also the spiritual leader of this team. I remember last night when these guys were breaking their huddle after practice, Monty Coleman was the guy to say, hey, we're having chapel and such room at the hotel, need you guys to be there. So very important aspect of this football team. Monty Coleman doing a great job for this Pine Bluff defense.
Well, you talk about this Arkansas Pine-Bluff team. Here's a school that's been playing football a long time, but they didn't even have a team in 1991 and 1992. In 1991, the NAIA suspended the school for the season, and the school canceled the season in 92 due to fiscal constraints. Lee Hardman was then hired as the coach for the 93 season. He stayed 11 years, including the move back to the SWAC in 1997. The team's best record after returning was in 1998. They went 8-3 that year, but they'd never won 7 straight in a row until this season. This time an I backfield now for Alabama A&M. With Nick Luke, the second back in the I. Nick Luke has the ball. Nick Luke's trying to get something going on the left side and gets down to the 40-yard line.
Talking about Coach Mo Forte and Monty Coleman, just 2 very spiritual guys. I mean, a lot of time they've both talked about the importance of prayer and the importance of having a relationship with these team members. And you have to realize these guys are mentoring 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who are away from home. So you always have to have that coach-player relationship because you're really like a father figure also.
No question about it. It is 2nd down and 7. And going to the left side is Nick Luke again. And Nick Luke trying to break a tackle, but it's stopped at about the 36-yard line by John Keith. And you're talking about Mo Forte. He took over in 2004. The team was 4-7 the previous year. He took the team to a 6-3 mark in his very first year, but they fell on kind of hard times last year, finishing only 3-8. And they started, as I said, 1-3 this season, but have won 7 straight games. So what a job he's done. And of course, the winner of this game, the coach will walk away with the Coach of the Year honors in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
And the first ever conference title for whichever school wins. They've never won the SWAC.
And if Mo Forte wins it, he would be the first coach to win it in 2 separate conferences, Coach of the Year and championships. As you look at Nick Luke breaking tackles inside the 20 and down to the 17-yard line before Amp Boone came up to make the stop. Nick Luke, he can do it. He transferred from Alabama, came in here a couple years ago and has done a good job for Anthony Jones.
Yeah, and they're coming out with that heavy backfield. And what that is, I mean, you have big Travis O'Neal and also Nick Luke, 2 big guys in the backfield. When you have all of those guys up against that line of scrimmage on those 3rd and short situations, hey, once you get past that initial wave of people, you can easily get that first down and get big yards. Now, Alabama A&M, they're on a long drive right now, keeping that Pine Bluff defense on the field. But, hey, that is what they do. They lead the conference in time of possession with 32 minutes and 43 seconds. This is where they like to be. 15 minutes a day to Arkansas Pine-Bluff's 9. And when we talk to Coach Jones, he says we want to run 70 to 75 offensive plays, and we only want the other team offense to run 50 to 55 plays. He said that's why his defense is so good, because they don't have to stay on the field for 60 or 70 plays. And it all starts with that ball control offense, and you expect that from a guy who played tight end in the NFL for a Joe Gibbs coach team. He knows about running the football and controlling that clock.
10th play of the drive. This time Tamar Scott tries the right side, and nothing doing for him as he's hit by Anton Williams. But as you said, you know, ball control. This drive started at their own 6-yard line. That was the 10th play of the drive. They're all the way down to the 16-yard line of Arkansas Pine-Bluff.
Now we're into that red zone part of the field. Now keep in mind, Alabama A&M has been in the red zone twice, only has 3 points to show for it. So we'll see what they do on this third possession inside the red zone.
And they're facing a 2nd down and 10. This time, Tamar Scott again on the carry, and nothing doing as Justin Bass was the first man to hit him. And he also had help from Chauncey Brown there, number 94, the senior from Columbus, Mississippi. Here's a young man that lost 25 pounds from last season, runs about a 4.840, a biology major with a 3.4 grade point average, comes in at 6'2", 250 pounds.
And Charlie, you know, reflecting on that first matchup between these two teams, you had the big play where Kelsey Luke thought he was in the end zone at the 1-yard line and didn't score. And Coach Jones said that was the difference in that ball game. We got into the red zone and we couldn't score. This is their 3rd time in the red zone, and they have to make something happen in this situation here.
3rd down. Kelsey Luke back across the grain, knocked away. Good defensive play by Bass, but there's a penalty marker down. Now let's see who this is on. Is it holding or is it pass interference?
Well, the flag was thrown by the umpire, which is usually
holding,
in the situation of holding.
It is.
Exactly.
So do you take the penalty, or do you move them back, or do you make it 4th down? Well, we'll find out.
Number 67 on the offense, 10-yard penalty. Repeat the down.
They're going to take the penalty.
Yeah, in this situation, you have to realize that A&M doesn't have an accomplished field goal kicker, so they're probably going to go for it on 4th down anyway. And so in that situation, hey, you want to do that. Take the penalty.
So that moves them a little further back, but it also puts the ball back in the hands of Kelsey Luke, the quarterback, and allows him to complete a pass, which he's very capable of doing.
Yeah, but I think this is once again 2-down territory for Alabama A&M. We talked about it earlier. 31 4th down attempts this year, leads the conference. So I think they'll go for it if they don't get it on 3rd down.
3rd and 19. Luke throws complete and stops shy of the 1st down, shy of the 15-yard mark, down to about the 17 or 18, so it still will bring up a 4th down and about 12. And they're going to bring on Lycia. His longest attempt this year was a 31-yarder, and that came against Mississippi Valley.
But Charlie, he's only attempted 3 field goals all year. This is his 3rd attempt today. So I mean, that's a big surprise. I'm sure he's like, wow.
This will be a 35.
Wasn't expecting this type of work.
This will be a 35-yard attempt for Lycia, Jeremy Lycia. He's a freshman from Ventura, California. It's good. 35 yards. So Lycia makes it a 7-6 ball game with the 35-yard field goal. So he's kicked one from 28 and one from 35. Jonathan Moore will have to try to bring his team back. He's on the sideline right now, and there you see the man is actually running the offense for Coach Moore-Forte from the sideline, Jonathan Cannon. Jonathan Cannon played at Arkansas Pine-Bluff. He was an assistant at Norfolk State and Howard. And when Moore-Forte, while being up in the press box, Jonathan Cannon calls all the plays. And let's look at Jonathan Moore and what he's done so far.
It started off a little shaky, but here, hey, if you don't see anyone open, use your feet. Good run for a 1st down. Here's a fumble, kind of loose with the ball in the pocket. Came back with a completion across the middle, and I think that really settled him down. And then finally he had this 44-yard touchdown to Jason Jones, the big play guy in his Pine Bluff offense. I think you have to give this kid a pretty good grade, maybe B+ or even an A, because a guy that doesn't have a lot of experience to come in here to have that long touchdown pass, to overcome the early obstacles, he's showing a lot of poise under a very harsh situation with this A&M defense.
And one of the things we asked Coach Moore-Forte, what happens if you're way out in front, or this kid's playing superb and put up some great numbers? Do you still change quarterbacks at half? He said, no question about it. I'm going with the horse that brought me here, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to dance with the girl you came to the dance with. You can't switch up at halftime. I would go with Chris Wallace regardless. And, of course, Jonathan Moore has gotten him through this first half. It's almost like running a relay.
Alabama A&M, ball replaced, 35-yard line. First down.
So the ball goes out of bounds as you look at Chris Wallace over on the sideline, knowing he's only 1 minute and 31 seconds away from getting into this ball game.
But, you know, like I was saying, Charlie, it's almost like a relay race. I mean, you just want the first couple legs to get it to your anchor leg. And, of course, Chris Wallace is that anchor leg. Jonathan Moore has done his part. He just needs to don't make a mistake in this last minute and 25 seconds of this first half and give the ball into Chris Wallace's hands with a lead at halftime. That's all you can ask out of this young man.
Martell Mallett has the ball, and Martell Mallett tries to turn the corner. They bottled him up pretty good today. He had a stellar high school career. He's a product of Pine-Bluff High and recently had his number 7 high school jersey retired by the school and his coach Joe Hart during the Thanksgiving weekend. And Mallett gained over 1,000 yards in each of his last 2 years at the high school. As a senior, he scored 26 touchdowns in the school's all-time leading rusher. Here's the quarterback trying to bounce outside, stays on his feet, but finally he is cornered before he can get to the first down marker.
You know, you would think you have a quarterback that hasn't played a lot. Maybe you would just sit on a 7-6 lead. But Mo Forte told us that they feel like this kid can run a complete game plan. They wasn't going to hold anything back. And they're really not, because in this situation, a 2-minute, you wouldn't really see an inexperienced quarterback running a 2-minute, especially when you have a lead. But, hey, let him go out there, throw the ball around. Maybe he makes a big play.
So Arkansas Pine-Bluff calls the timeout this time. And that is their first, I believe, that they've called. Alabama A&M has called a couple of timeouts. And we talk about Arkansas Pine-Bluff and how they started the season. As we said, they lost 3 of their first 4 games, losing to Mississippi Valley in their season opener. They beat Alcorn 42-14 before losing back-to-back games to Alabama State and Southern Illinois. Then they went on a long streak, a 7-game winning streak. In 1930, the team won 6 straight, but they won 7 straight this year, beating Tuskegee 35-19, coming from behind 16-0. They beat Grambling 33-28. They beat Alabama A&M 23-21. Beat Jackson State 43-40. Prairie View 28-21 after trailing 21-14 in that one. And beat Southern 45-20. And beat Texas Southern after trailing 14-7 in that one. Biggest turnaround in school history from a 3-8 record a year ago to 8-3 this year. Third down. Here's some running room for the quarterback. No, he's going to throw it. That should be interference. No, they're going to say it was uncatchable. A lot of people are looking for the flag, but I thought he could have run it and got the first down.
Yeah, he absolutely should have ran that ball and gotten the first down, and that's what you need to do, because all you want to do is get another set of downs. It looked like it may have been deflected at the line of scrimmage. You can see the kid can buy time. He moves around side to side, but hey, he's only 3 or 4 yards from the first down mark. At that situation, run it out of bounds and get the first down.
Get the first down, or fall down after you get the first down. They're going to hold on to it as 4th down with 28 seconds remaining in the first half. And they're going to go for it on 4th down.
Yeah, this is a very high-risk game plan by Mo Forte here.
Well, 4th and 2 is the situation, and now I think Mo Forte is going to call a second timeout. Boy.
And with this situation, hey, you're up 7-6 with your backup quarterback.
But then you think about the fact that there's where the inexperience came in, because I think Chris Wallace would have probably gone for the first down, or Kelsey Luke.
Yeah, you have to realize that it's 3rd and 3, and you can just get that first down. You don't have to force that throw.
Well, lace up your skates for college hockey action on ESPNU Sunday. That's when the Michigan Tech Huskies skated out against the North Dakota Fighting Sioux. It's college hockey on ESPNU Sunday. It comes your way at 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. For more information, log on to ESPNU.com. Well, I think they decided they're going to punt it away, and they're going to let Mr. Bergeron, who had a 65-yarder on his last punt, let this one go.
I think Chris Wallace is telling Jonathan Moore, hey, good job, kid. I got it from here. He knows he's coming in that 3rd quarter. Like, hey, you did the right thing. Good job. A big, long strike for a touchdown. Went to my man, Jason Jones. We can get this thing in a 7-6 lead in the 3rd quarter. Yeah, I feel good about it.
Nobody deep, and he shanks this one off the side of his foot, believe it or not. He had a 65-yarder earlier. I think he was planning on aiming it for the Coughlin corner, but the most important thing is there was nobody deep but Alabama A&M to return the punt. So he really gave them great field position, because the ball goes out at the 33-yard line. with 21 seconds to go.
And A&M with Kelsey Lukeman, they'll have one timeout in 21 seconds. Still have a long way to get into position to score. We'll see if they're going to sit on this ball and going down 7-6, or if they're going to take a chance and try to make something happen.
Luke on first down, throws it, has it complete on the near sideline. And out of bounds is Anthony Mitchell. He's about a yard shy of a first down. That'll bring up second down.
You know, you look at A&M and you know they're a running team, but keep in mind, I mean, Kelsey Luke still has 1,724 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, so he can still get it done in the air. I mean, this is a guy who I really like as a quarterback just because he's so efficient and he doesn't make the silly mistakes.
Now we may have an illegal substitution on Arkansas Pine-Bluff because we saw a player running off after everybody was set, so that's going to be a 5-yard penalty, which is going to give them a first down. That is Alabama A&M. They'll move the ball forward and move the chains. Our referee.
Execution infraction on the defense. 5-yard penalty. Beat it down.
The biggest thing is we only have 7 seconds left in the half, so I mean this has to be the last play of the half. A&M will have to try something deep or some type of trick or gadget play if they want to try to score before this half ends.
Here's a little flanker screen, but not much there for John Keith to come up and make the stop.
Very well diagnosed.
And that's going to end the first half here in Birmingham. Look at the last play, the completion inside, and John Keith makes the play. And our Jay Walker's down on the sideline with a offensive coordinator, Jonathan Cannon. Jay.
Coach Cannon, you're going into halftime with a 1-point lead. What are you going to do about the quarterback situation? Who's going to start the second half?
We're going to go here and talk about it with Coach Forte. We'll make a decision. We'll come back out here and see how we can do some things. We got to establish a running game first. That's most important.
How would you analyze the play of the young quarterback?
Young guy, he went out there. He understood what he wanted, put us in some good plays. Obviously, we made a big play with him, and we'll discuss it at halftime, find out what we're going to do.
Schematically, are they doing anything that you didn't expect them to do?
Absolutely. We worked on this stuff all the last month, and so we just got to get to working up front with the O-line. Those guys got to open some holes so Mallett and Poole can run the football.
All right, best of luck to you in the second half, Coach.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, 7-6 our score. Jonathan Moore, he's finished his first half. Not a bad first half for the young man, a touchdown pass. Meanwhile, Chris Wallace goes to the locker room. He's getting ready. He knows it's his turn in the second half, and we'll be back. Time. On any given day in the fall, SWAC Conference football fans are treated with 2 competitions on the field. First, the Gridiron Contest, then the Battle of the Bands at halftime. Whether the band's nickname is the world-famed Human Jukebox or the Sonic Boom of the South, audiences are never disappointed with Showtime at halftime. We visited with 3 HBCU band programs to get a better feel for how they do their magic.
The mighty Mississippi flows north to south. At its terminus, the river flows through both Louisiana and Mississippi. It is here that much of America's music was born.
The South is known for a rich tradition of music, primarily African-American music.
We grew out of an African-American experience. We grew out of blues, rhythm and blues, jazz, gospel. And you already know the Mississippi Delta, the birthplace of the blues. And right down the street, down the river, New Orleans, the birthplace of jazz.
That is the true American art form. That's the only thing that we can say America is given to the world of music, as jazz, blues, gospel.
There's strong African content still present in our drum cadence that we utilize at Jack State today. In Mississippi, during slavery, and it was illegal for a black person to own a drum, because they also used drum for communication. So it was a very important instrument in black music.
In the earliest years of historically black colleges and universities, the band directors came home to teach after attaining their musical degrees in the North, often from programs in the Big Ten. Today's HBCU bands have superimposed their Southern experiences over the traditions of their Northern training.
We've always been a great marching band and always been a great playing band. We do have and always did have showmanship.
The type of strenuous activities that we go through, you got to be able to play, you got to be able to march, you got to be able to dance. We're a show band.
The renowned marching bands of the SWAC Conference have three major elements in common: musicality, marching precision, and showmanship. Mastering these components distinguishes HBCU bands from all other marching bands in the land.
I think this is as a rite of passage. There's certain music that all students should play in a marching band.
The first key to a successful HBCU band is the musicianship, mastering the performance of traditional band music.
Being able to play the John Philip Sousa marches. The marches are the only music that are written for marching band. There are certain ways you have to play those marches. When you're teaching nuances and interpretation, when you're trying to teach the kids how to be musical expressive with some type of compassion, Lord, and then you be played warm, in compassion, warm. It should make you feel a little fuzzy about being an American.
The second key element is the marching style. Patterned after the Big Ten core style bands, the HBCU bands in time created their own legacy, the show band. Part old school with the high leg lift, mostly new school playing and dancing in a flowing motion, like the river.
I think the Ohio States and the Michigans, they do core style road stepping.
One thing that separates Michigan and Ohio State from Jackson State, they're not really a certain patterns of motion, as we have, they're more or less a follow the leader in a core style setting.
I think our shows are more perpetual, non-stop, kaleidoscope, pictures of collapsing and unfolding.
We have to always emphasize alignment, the proper way to face the instrument carriage, leg lift, the proper step size.
Concentrate on the show. Now, you got to get your knees up. You got to get your knees up. We're going to do the whole show.
From yard line to yard line is 5 yards. And in order to make 8 equal steps, you have to march basically 22.5 inches per step.
Also, with our swing and sway action, we're moving our horns left to right with our knees going up. I feel it takes more energy and it's harder to implement our certain style.
When it's showtime, our band march 140 steps per minute throughout the entire show. Our kids have a showtime mentality. When it's on the line, they're producing.
The third major ingredient is showmanship.
We're going to bring that oomph, that excitement, and we're going to dance. And we're going to dance well.
Being able to play loud, high, fast, you have to have that fire. You have to have that spark.
When you hear 60,000 fans roaring, pom-poms flashing, on their feet applauding for you, that means we got the house.
What the HBCU bands bring is not only good music, not only good marching, but entertainment.
You got to look down that river, all the way from St. Louis to New Orleans. All of those colleges that are connected have similar experiences.
The history is long and the roots deep with these great bands. And we'll be back with more live music from Legion Field in Birmingham in a moment.
What is it you want, Barry?
7-6 is our halftime score here. Arkansas Pine-Bluff with a 1-point lead over Alabama A&M. It's the 2006 edition of the SWAC Football Championship. We're back with more halftime activities from Birmingham and Legion Field in just a moment.
Okay, guys.
7-6. Our halftime score, Pine-Bluff with 1-point lead over Alabama A&M, and our Jay Walker's down on the sideline with a very special guest, a former All-SWAC performer. Jay.
Joining me now, the newly elected member of the SWAC Hall of Fame, Grambling fans will know him, the legendary Everson Walls. What does it mean for you to go into the SWAC Hall of Fame?
Well, you know, it's a great honor. It's the greatest one I've achieved so far in my post-football career. You know, when you start talking about the SWAC Hall of Fame, you know, you're compared to people like Buck Buchanan and Sammy White, Doug Williams, Willie Brown. You know, those are the kind of people that I looked up to as a kid, you know, and I even got a chance to play with Doug himself. So, you know, to be associated with those guys, that is not the way I thought my life would turn out to be, you know.
What did it mean to play in the SWAC and to play for a coach like the legend of them all, Eddie Robinson?
You know, that's the main thing. You know, Eddie Robinson is really the pinnacle of any coach's success. I mean, his story will never be repeated, and the players and the generations that he's covered, that will never be repeated as well. So that's the kind of thing that I'm proud of, that I was a part of that legacy, and that legacy itself is really a part of American history.
And on a more personal note, off the field, you decided to make a life-changing decision by volunteering to donate one of your kidneys to your former teammate, one of my former coaches, Ron Spring.
That's right. You know about Ron. You know, you have an intimate connection with Ron as well, and you know how he is. You know, he's one of those guys that really don't deserve the best of friends and the best of care. So what we're trying to do, myself and his family, trying to make sure that Ron stays around for a long time. The decision's already made. The operation will not take place soon, but it will be sometime, you know, in the month of March, I guess. So, you know, we're ready for Ron, and, you know, by being associated with Grambling and the SWAC and Coach Robinson, you know, that allowed me to be able to make those kind of decisions and be comfortable with it.
And you're a stand-up man. Our prayers go out to you and Ron Spring. We're all praying for you. Everson Wall, a leader still on and off the field.
Well, thank you very much, Jay. And, of course, that's quite noble of Everson Walls, and always enjoyed covering him when he played at Grambling State University. We're joined in the booth right now by the former commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, Dr. James Frank. And Dr. James Frank, like Everson last night, was inducted into the Southwestern Athletic Conference Hall of Fame. First of all, congratulations, Dr. Frank, for being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And we talk about your legacy and what you have meant to the Southwestern Athletic Conference as a longtime commissioner. You're the one that instituted the two divisional systems where they went to the Eastern and Western Division.
No, that's correct. In fact, when I left the conference, it was really the next meeting that the vote took place to create the two divisions. I had done all the necessary recommendations and all, and then the game got started in 1999.
Well, Dr. Frank, I mean, are you happy with the progress that's been going on with the SWAC Conference? Of course, you were always instrumental in making big changes. You've always been a part of the NCAA and just around college football for so long. How do you evaluate the overall job that the new conference commissioner is doing in the direction that they're going?
Well, absolutely. You know, I think that he's carrying on the, work that was laid before him. I was involved in the selection of the new commissioner because I came back on an interim basis, and I knew after these various interviews and all, this was the man to carry on the work and the legacy of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And 4 years later, I think what has happened and so forth attests to the fact that the president's made the right decision.
All right, Dr. Frank, it's always great seeing you and your family, and had a chance to visit with them yesterday at the Hall of Fame banquet, and we wish you much success in your future endeavors. And right now we're going to take an opportunity to look at the Black College Poll, the latest, presented by Sheridan and North Carolina Central. Looks like the team that's going to be one of the few teams since in the decade of 2000, other than a Division I AA squad, other than Hampton or or Grambling or Southern to be the Black National Champs this year. Tuskegee was the last Division II team to win that award. North Carolina Central sitting on top of the pack, followed by Hampton. Arkansas Pine-Bluff is rated third, Tuskegee fourth, Delaware State fifth, followed by Alabama A&M, South Carolina State, Elizabeth City, Albany State, and Lane. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's about correct. I mean, Hampton, until you win the playoff game, it's hard to really move them up there. I mean, they always do great in the regular season, and I think they have the talent and the work ethic to win that first playoff game. And I think if that ever happens, they'll once again be on top of that Black College National Championship. Of course, they tied last year with Grambling, was a co-national champion, so they're very familiar with being on top.
Jay, your thoughts?
Well, I think, it really speaks volumes for Division II football in terms of the black college level. There's not a tremendous gap in the talent base. There's some Division II programs that we know and we've seen that can beat some of the big boys in 1AA football. Perfect example is, I think it was 2 years ago when Alabama State won the SWAC conference, yet they lost their last regular season contest to Tuskegee. So they've been battling for years, and I just really do believe the talent gap between 1AA and Division II football in terms of black college football is shrinking ever closely. And that North Carolina Central team, if they were in the MEAC conference, they would have contended hand in hand with Hampton.
All right, well, that's saying a lot, and they proved that they belong. 7-6, our score. We're at halftime with Pine Bluff, a 1-point lead over Alabama A&M in this SWAC Football Championship. Back with more halftime activities in a moment. What are we doing? Okay. Arkansas Pine-Bluff leading by a point here at halftime. Coming back as we get ready to start the second half here at Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama, along with Jay Walker and Eddie Robinson. I'm Charlie Neal, and glad you could be here with us for this one, which has been a good one so far. Let's look at some of the highlights from the first half of this particular game. Here's Jonathan Moore, who got the start today, and this is what he did earlier.
Yeah, early Jonathan Moore, I mean, had a little trouble early on with that Alabama A&M defense. You kind of expect that, but he came back. The kid responded. He bounced back, had a couple of good passes, and Lycia here with a blocked field goal. 3 attempts, but he only makes 2 out of 3, which is good because he only had 3 attempts all year. But I think the big story is Jonathan Moorhead. He makes the one big play, which is the 44-yard touchdown to Jason Jones. Everyone knows this kid came into the game with 11 touchdowns. That's the difference right now with a 7-6 lead for Arkansas Pine-Bluff.
And there's the first half stats. Of course, 186. Alabama A&M has the edge in terms of total yards and time of possessions, but they trail by 1 on the scoreboard.
And I think now you have Alabama A&M who's going to get this ball to start off the third quarter. They have to really establish that running game. Of course, they have the time of possession lead, which we expect that, but they've given up the one big play, and then they have to try to defend Chris Wallace, who's going to come into this game all charged up. You should expect the emotional boost to go to Arkansas Pine-Bluff. That's why it's even more important for Alabama A&M to take this opening third quarter kickoff and get some points on the board and do something very positive to try to kill that initial momentum that Arkansas Pine-Bluff is going to have when the quarterback Chris Wallace returns back to this football game.
The one thing is Alabama A&M will get the ball to start the second half, and of course Chris Wallace, as you see, is a southpaw left-hander there. You think he got too fired up, Eddie?
Well, no, I don't think so. I mean, this kid, he knows what he needs to do. I mean, you can tell. Look at his season numbers. He knows what he has to do. I mean, he has 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. You want to settle him down early in the third quarter, but I think he's ready to play and is going to execute the game plan perfectly.
And he was a first-team all-conference selection. Not only the first-team all-conference selection, but he was the offensive player of the year in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And one of the things that has stuck into the craw of Alabama A&M is the fact that their quarterback, Kelsey Luke, was not and did not make the all-conference team. And speaking of Alabama A&M, Coach Anthony Jones is with our Jay Walker.
Coach Jones, you came out with a 5-receiver package, and many people weren't expecting that. Will you continue to use that in the second half?
I was successful in the first half. We'll use it in the second half, yes.
What'd you go in there and tell your team at halftime?
This is what we expected. We expected a close ball game. They're giving it to us. Now it's time to see if we can take it home.
Do you expect them to bring another quarterback? When they bring in their regular starting quarterback, will you make any adjustments?
No, we held them down pretty good. They had one big play on us. We'll have the same game plan against them.
Thank you. Best of luck to you in the second half.
Thank you.
Well, Anthony Jones has his team poised to get the ball to start the second half. And as you said, Eddie, he's gotten into the red zone a couple times. They haven't been able to get into the end zone, even though they've had 3 field goal attempts. They're successful on 2 of them.
Yeah, but that's not what you want. You want touchdowns when you get into that red zone. They've been inside the red zone 3 times. You only come away with 6 points. That's not a very good percentage. I mean, on the year, they were 30 of 41 scoring inside the red zone, which is 73%. That's 6th in the conference. So that lets you know that the problems that they've been having all year long, if they get more opportunities to get inside that 20-yard line, they have to get touchdowns and not field goals.
Well, very interesting as you look at Kelsey Luke, and we were talking about it before we went down to Coach Anthony Jones, the fact that he did not, with the numbers he put up this year, was not named to the all-conference team. The second team quarterback was Brandon Landers, the quarterback from Grambling State University.
Yeah, I mean, it was a couple players that Alabama A&M felt like should have been on the all-conference team. Me personally, I love Kelsey Luke. Every time I see this guy plays, he doesn't make mistakes, and he's a very efficient quarterback. He knows when to run, when to throw, and going into a close game in the fourth quarter is no one else I would want to have with the football in his hands than Kelsey Luke. Very accomplished quarterback, but doesn't have the real big passing numbers, so that's why you have guys like Brandon Landers who kind of get pushed ahead of him in postseason honors.
Well, they were down, that is Alabama A&M, in their first meeting against Arkansas Pine-Bluff, 23-7, but Kelsey Luke rallied the team for a 48-yard touchdown pass to Travis O'Neal and a run for a 2-point conversion to close the game to 23-15. Then another touchdown run by Luke led them to within 2 with 2 minutes left to play, but the 2-point conversion run by Luke to tie it failed, and Pine Bluff held on for the 2-point victory, 23-21.
And the big play was the controversy in that game when there was the 1-yard touchdown run, which was, I guess it wasn't a run because he was ruled down on the 1-yard line, but Coach Jones for A&M felt like that Kelsey Luke was able to get into the end zone with that quarterback sneak play. So it was a very controversial game. The 2 teams fought hard, and hey, we should expect the same type of close game and finish today.
This one will come down to Ulysses Banks. He brings it out of the end zone. Very dangerous. There he is. He is out across the 30 to the 31-yard line. Ulysses Banks, who averaged 35 yards per kickoff return this year, ran 2 back for touchdowns, a 90-yarder against Southern, a 99-yarder against Alabama State, and he leads the nation in kickoff return yardage.
And that is exactly why I'm wondering why Mo Forte is kicking the ball to this kid.
They kicked it in the end zone. They made sure he had to bring it all the way out.
Well, he was 5 yards deep, but still he gets it out to the 31-yard line. Shows you what type of exciting player he is. And we talked to Coach Forte about that. He said, hey, will you kick it to Ulysses Banks? He said, well, we'll kick it, but maybe not necessarily to him. But they're giving him his chances to try to make something happen.
First down and 10, Alabama A&M. Luke rolling left, looking to pass. Throws us off the hands of his receiver, Thomas Harris. Thomas Harris still looking for his first catch of the ball game.
Now, Charlie, most coaches will tell you the opening drive of the third quarter always sets the tone for the rest of the football game. But in this situation, when you're Alabama A&M, I mean, you're down 7-6, but you have to keep in mind the dynamics of a Chris Wallace, who's the offensive player of the year in the conference, coming into the game for the other team for the first time. You really want to establish some type of consistency and rhythm on this opening drive and try to put points on the board to try to diminish his impact.
Luke from the shotgun overthrows Kevin Francis on the far sideline.
And it's a definite surprise. I mean, Alabama A&M, they've had success with this 5 wide receiver offense in the first half. But still, I mean, they're a powerful running team who likes to control the clock. And they've controlled the clock in this game. But still, you have 2 rushers in Tamar Scott and Nick Luke, who combined for over 1,200 rushing yards, and a quarterback who's rushed for 400 yards. So it's a little bit of a surprise that they come out here with the 5 wide receiver set and start throwing the football once again.
So it'll bring up a third down. And so far, 5 of 9 for Alabama A&M in third down conversions today. From the shotgun again, and the pressure intercepted. Almost. It should have been a touchdown. It was in the hands of Stuart Franks, who's their leading interceptor this year. He had 6 coming in. That would have been number 7 and maybe 6 on the scoreboard.
And I tell you what, Kelsey Luke, man, you really got away with one right there, because this kid, Stuart Franks, like you said, he ties for the lead in the conference with 6 interceptions. Look at the break he gets on this ball, man. He's off and running. Right now, he's thinking of what touchdown dance I'm going to do when I get into the end zone as opposed to catching that football. So, man, huge break for A&M that the score isn't 14-6 at this point.
And that'll bring up the punting situation, the second punt of the day for Alabama A&M. Kyler on the punt. And it rolls dead at about the 25-yard line, and that's where Arkansas Pine-Bluff will get the ball for the first time in the second half. And Chris Wallace will make his game debut, his SWAC championship debut, after having to sit out the first half of today's ball game. In case you just joined us, just to recap the story, Chris Wallace was involved in an altercation in their last regular season game against a player from Texas Southern University. He was ejected from that game, and the NCAA rule states you must sit out at least the first half of the next game, and that's what happened. He was punished by having to sit out the first half of this game. Jonathan Moore took over, didn't hurt the team, led them to a 7-6 halftime score, and now Chris Wallace is in the ball game. Player of the year in the Southwestern Athletic Conference this year. Hands off this time to Martell Mallett, and Mallett gains about 5 yards up to the 30-yard line.
And we talked to offensive coordinator Jonathan Cannon about Chris Wallace coming into this game in the third quarter. And the first thing he said was, hey, we have to establish the running game. Keep in mind that they have Martell Mallett, a kid who has over 1,000 rushing yards, an all-conference runner, and 14 touchdowns. So while you want to get Chris Wallace involved in this football game, you have to realize the bigger picture. You have to have balance. You must establish the running game against a very tough Alabama A&M defense.
They'll give him 4 on the last run. It'll be 2nd down and 6. Dedrick Poole has been very quiet, was the man in motion. Here's a little hole to the outside and a first down gain, or close to it, to the 41-yard line. By 4, Donaldson comes up to make the stop on Mallett.
Yeah, very good open field tackle by Al Donaldson. You have a guy with the moves like a Martell Mallett, who is nicknamed as Snake because of his running style, and that's just a good tackle going down the lane, because if you miss this, you can see it's no one there but green grass ahead of Martell Mallett. So good job by Al Donaldson. 45 total tackles on the year, coming up and making that physical stop on Mallett.
All right, it is a first down gained on the run. And again, they keep the ball on the ground with Mallett getting the carry. You talk about the SWAC championship game. You know, this game was incorporated back in 1999. Only 6 schools have ever appeared in the title game: Grambling, Jackson State, Southern Alabama A&M, Alabama State, and of course this year, Arkansas Pine-Bluff. Grambling has the most appearances with 4, and have won all 4 times that they've played: 2000, 2001, 2002, and 2004. Southern University with 3 appearances in the championship game. It is 2nd down, 2nd and 8. First pass being attempted today by Wallace. And this one is intercepted. The first pass by Antonio Nelson. So he comes into the ball game finally, and this one was picked off, and that was just a battle between the defensive back and the receiver. That was anybody's ball once it got into the air.
But you have to have your receiver to knock that ball down, and don't let that defender take it out of his hands.
There's a timeout on the field. 11:42, the first interception of the ball game. 2nd turnover by Arkansas Pine-Bluff. And we'll be back.
Saturday, nothing to complain about unless you're working.
7-6 our score here in the third quarter. 2nd turnover of the ball game by Arkansas Pine-Bluff. Can Alabama A&M convert? Antonio Nelson, he caused a fumble on a sack, and then here's the interception.
There's Johnny Baldwin, coming around the corner, putting the pressure on Chris Wallace. Always hard to complete a pass when you have guys hanging on you, and you can see just a very athletic play by Antonio Nelson, battling the tight end Emmanuel Frazier and getting that ball in his hands and collecting his interception. He's having a big game so far with the interception, the sack, and the forced fumble.
And that's the first interception for him this year. He had 3 last season, including a 100-yard return against Grambling. And here's a Tamar Scott trying to go to the left side this time, picking up a couple of yards. Gets it across the inside the 45 to about the 43-yard line. Tamar Scott from Demopolis, Alabama. Essex High came into the game as the 5th leading rusher in the conference and 6th in all-purpose yards with 7 touchdowns on 82 yards rushing.
And we've seen more of Nick Luke earlier in the football game, but now you have Tamar Scott, and that just really wears down the defense when you have two of the same style of physical runners.
Here's Luke trying to get to the outside, gets a good block, turns the corner, and gets out of bounds in front of the bench, and a late flag because he was hit out of bounds is going to be flagged or tagged on and added on to the yards that Nick Luke gained. He had the first down.
Looked like he may be injured also.
And he is a little slow getting up over there. So now not only do they get the they knocked Nick Luke out of the ball game, they did throw the flag for the late hit, and Luke is shaken up. That means Stanley Allen is the backup. And there's the hit right there by Bass, Justin Bass. And that'll draw the flag.
Yeah, and he was definitely in the white. I mean, Justin Bass is just playing hard, tough football. And when you're running like that, it's hard to just stop all of a sudden.
Personal foul, late hit out of bounds, number 54 on the defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
And they're still looking at Luke over there on the sideline, and that'll bring in Stanley Allen, who has no stats at all this year. He is a sophomore from Roanoke, Alabama, went to Valley High, played in limited action a year ago, did not throw the ball at all, ran 4 times, and did not score a touchdown. His longest was 34 yards. So he comes into the ball game. It's kind of reversals of what we've seen from Arkansas Pine-Bluff.
Yeah, but I think Stanley Allen is just a little bit more inexperienced than my guy Jonathan Moore. Like you said, he has no stats coming to this football game.
Well, they'll play it safe and give it to Tamar Scott to run it. And here's the running game down to the 10-yard line, and another first down. It'll be first and goal for Alabama A&M and the Bulldogs with the big run by Tamar Scott.
I think right now, if you're Arkansas Pine-Bluff, you have to realize this is just mano-a-mano football. These guys are not going to do anything cute and let this guy come in here and throw a pass. This is going to be consecutive running plays, I would suspect. And you just have to really step up and try to make big plays. If you're A&M, hey, you're in the situation, you're in the red zone for the 4th time. You only got 2 field goals out of it so far. Let's be physical. We're a running football team. Let's go downhill with the tough runs with Tamar Scott and Nick Luke and pound this thing into the end zone.
You're watching the SWAC Football Championship from Birmingham, Alabama, right here on ESPNU, along with Jay Walker and Eddie Robinson. I'm Charlie Neal, and Alabama A&M threatening with a first and goal, and now a penalty flag comes out. It was a delay of game. Let's see, we get a flag or is it a legal substitution? We haven't had a lot of penalties in this ball game.
Yeah, but this is a big one right here.
Our referee, Keith Moore.
And they're marking it back.
Delay a game. 5-yard penalty. 8th penalty of the ball game between the two teams. Delay of game against Alabama A&M. So it'll be still first and goal, but the ball is spotted at the 14-yard line now. We're in the 3rd quarter with 10:08 to go and a 1-point ball game. Fair field goal for Alabama A&M and a long touchdown pass for Arkansas Pine-Bluff is accounted for the scoring as Tamar Scott gets the call. 5. Touchdown, Alabama A&M. Tamar Scott with the 14-yard run.
Big time play right there by Alabama A&M. I mean, I think everyone in this stadium knew that Alabama A&M was going to run this football. There's no way you're going to let Stanley Allen attempt the pass. Give Tamar Scott credit in that whole offensive line for opening holes and getting the ball in the end zone after the penalty, which made it a first and goal from the 14 instead of the 9.
So they take advantage of the turnover, the interception by Nelson, and they put it in the end zone.
That was just good physical blocking up front because, I mean, no one was there to even give him a touch. And now A&M is attempting a 2-point conversion.
With 9:52 to go. 2-point conversion, as you said, Jay, or Eddie. And here's the quarterback. He looks like he hasn't played a lot, has he? Here's a timeout on the field. 12-7 is our score. 5-point lead as Alabama A&M takes the lead for the first time this afternoon. Tamar Scott puts them out in front.
The NCAA Women's Basketball Championship coming in March.
Touchdown celebrations. Gentlemen, I need help.
Gotcha. Old school. A little bit of
Pop and lock. Booyah. Buno. Next.
You already know that college is expensive, and more bills will be arriving soon. You need money for next semester's tuition, books, living expenses, a computer, and other costs. A Chase Education loan can help. You can get up to $40,000 a year for most college expenses, mailed to your home in about a week. It's easy. Students can apply by phone or online in as little as 15 minutes. And unlike other consumer loans, repayment can begin after graduation. If financial aid and federal student loans aren't enough, call 888-663-3032 or visit chaseed36.com. That's 888-6...
Chris Wallace gets a chance to come back and kind of redeem himself with more. Let's go down to Jay Walker.
Hey, guys, earlier we talked about Arkansas Pine-Bluff running off 7 consecutive victories leading up to the SWAC Championship game. What many people don't know is during that 7-game winning streak, in 5 of those contests, they were trailing in the second half. In order for them to overcome this deficit now, they're going to need Chris Wallace, their starting quarterback, to find his groove. On that last pass that got intercepted, he anticipated where the linebacker was not going to be, and they had communication problems, resulting in the interception and the points for Alabama A&M.
Emmanuel Frazier was the intended receiver, the tight end, and that was only the 8th interception this year that Wallace has thrown, as we get the return by Dedrick Poole, who's been kind of quiet today. The former Arkansas Razorback running back brings it back all the way out to about the 45-yard line.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very dangerous return man, and this kid, wow, 150 total yards per game average. I mean, he leads the conference with 1,503 total yards on the season. I mean, he's a returner, punt and kick returner, also can receive the ball and rush the ball. So, I mean, this is a very dangerous guy when he touches the football, and you can see they definitely need to get him involved in the game more in this third quarter.
Yeah, he hasn't touched the ball much in the first half at all. And what a story he is. Went to Arkansas, had a shoulder injury in his first season, then tore his hamstring in the second season and found himself further and further down on the depth chart. And then, of course, he went to the same high school as the Arkansas Razorback coach, Houston Nutt, down in Little Rock, Arkansas. So Houston Nutt, of course, Dedrick Poole not happy with his lack of playing time, wanted to transfer to another school. Houston Nutt said, I'll get you there. I'll get you somewhere to go. As you look at the referee, have a little physical problems there, a little bloody nose on the side for the referee today.
I think he has to shake it off. I think they bring one extra referee just in case things like that happen. So
well, I don't know.
I'm sure he'll get back out there.
They're missing one of the side judges or field judges right now. And again, the running is very tough for Martell Mallett. Let's look at the last drive by Arkansas Pine-Bluff.
Yeah, I mean, it all started with the interception by number 23, Antonio Nelson. Then you come back. Man, Kelsey Luke is running on the sideline. He's injured. So in comes the backup quarterback, Stanley Allen. The best thing you can do, give the ball to Tamar Scott, a guy who knows how to get it into the end zone. There you go with the touchdown, giving Alabama A&M the lead. They try to go for the 2-point conversion. Of course, it was no good. So now we have a 12-7 game with Alabama A&M taking the lead.
I think all our officials are back on the field right now. They've been taken care of. There's Kelsey Luke on the sideline. You saw a shot of him, and this one is going to go incomplete. Let's go down to Jay with more on Kelsey Luke.
Talk with the trainers from Alabama A&M, and they said Kelsey Luke came into this game with a sensitive ankle. Now he's got a mild ankle sprain. They're putting a tape job on him. No doubt he will definitely be back in the football game.
Well, you got to get him in there. I mean, this is for all the marbles. He's got a whole season to heal.
Yeah, exactly right. You can ice that ankle on Monday, but right now, I mean, all of the Alabama A&M Bulldogs, everyone who traveled down here from Huntsville, they need Kelsey Luke in this football game. He's a great third and fourth quarter quarterback. I mean, he always makes the good decisions, and I'm sure he's a competitor. He'll get back out there.
3rd down and 10 for Pine-Bluff. Wallace, his first pass was an interception. He's going to take off and run this time, and he's going to be stopped by Avery Mullen just shy of the 45-yard line. And it'll bring up a 4th down punting situation, 4th and 5.
A little bit of a rough start by Chris Wallace so far, but I mean, hey, this kid is the offensive MVP in the conference. You have to expect him to settle down. He's only had 2 possessions, thrown 1 interception, 3 and out right now. So, I mean, they just have to get things moving and give him some easy plays that he can complete. And he knows what to do with the football once he gets it going.
Bergeron with the punt. And it takes an Alabama A&M bounce and dies right at about the 28-yard line, and that's where Alabama A&M will go to work. First down and 10. Log on to ESPNU.com to select your favorite games from this past year as part of ESPNU's People's Choice New Year's. Be sure to vote for your favorite college and high school games from the last 12 months and watch the winners as they air on ESPNU on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Log on to ESPNU.com today because we are college sports. With 7:40 to go in the third quarter here. Alabama A&M with the ball. And again, still in the ball game as Tamar Scott gets the handoff is Stanley Allen. Tamar Scott has been the workhorse here as of late before Justin Bass and Anton Williams came up to make the stop defensively for the Golden Lions of Arkansas Pine-Bluff.
Now is where that running attack is going to come into play that Alabama A&M has. I mean, they're the second leading rushing team in the conference. I mean, you don't want to have Stanley Allen having any dangerous pass plays. I'm sure he'll attempt a pass play here or there, but wow, Tamar Scott, Nick Luke, if I have to run the football for the rest of this game, that's the two guys I want to have doing it.
Yeah, Anthony Jones is 3-2 against Arkansas Pine-Bluff. 39-19 was the win in 02 as we keep the ball on the ground, and the first down is gained for Alabama A&M is Stuart Franks. And you still go back to that missed interception by Stuart Franks, who might have put that ball into the end zone. That could be the difference in the ball game. And you talk about a game of inches. It goes, he drops an interception wide open. And then, of course, Alabama A&M converts on an interception.
Antonio Nelson catches his. I mean, like you say, that's a MOBP, which is a missed opportunity for a big play. And you can never get that one back. I mean, he has 6 interceptions on the year. You expect him to make that interception and get into the end zone.
First down and 10. And this time it's Nick Luke on the carry. And Nick Luke gains about 3 yards down to the 45-yard line. Boy, he's run out of bounds. You know, you talk about the Southwestern Athletic Conference and this championship and all the great players that have come out of this conference. Walter Payton, you know, still holds the record. We went to the Hall of Fame ceremony last night, and there was Shaq Harris there, and Doug Williams, and Everson Walls, and even on the basketball side, guys like Machine Gun Kelly and Avery Johnson, the coach of the Dallas Mavericks, was inducted into the SWAC Hall of Fame for his play at Southern University.
Machine Gun Kelly, he's the Texas Southern great, but what I like about him, his little brother is Pop Gun Kelly.
Here's again Nick Luke rather, on the carry.
I know, Charlie, you've been covering a lot of different sports and all of those great SWAC players. You've seen a lot of them, and just in basketball and football. So it's great that you have that SWAC Hall of Fame where you have all of these different guys who come back. I mean, the Robert Brazils, the Kenny Burrows, old Houston Law, the greats who I looked up to when I was playing. So, I mean, just a lot of great players coming through this conference who make their impact on the NFL and professional sports.
Of course, John Stallworth is a product of Alabama A&M.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers great.
Yeah. And we got some movement up front. Looks like it may be offsides. Of course, L.C. Greenwood, the former Pittsburgh Steeler great, is a product of Arkansas Pine-Bluff. So some great names over the years.
Ball. Outside. Number 94 on the defense. We had contact. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Ironically enough, the 2 awards that are given to the top offensive and defensive players in all of 1AA, or Division I football as it's now called, are named after players from the Southwestern Athletic Conference, the Walter Payton Award and the Buck Buchanan Award. And we'll say congratulations after this play to the 2 players who were named this year's recipients. And here's a reverse, and it's Harris, and Harris down the sideline for first down inside the 20-yard line down to 19. Thomas Harris on an end around. Boy, I'll tell you, you have to improvise when you have a new quarterback in the lineup, and Alabama A&M has done a very good job of doing that.
I mean, yeah, you haven't seen a pass yet. I mean, that's the first thing you have to improvise on. We don't want to pass the ball, but then you have to get some diversity in your play calling. This is a great call by Thomas Harris, getting this guy coming back with a reverse. Everyone knows that you have to run the football, so you expect that the Pine-Bluff defense is going to be very aggressive on the first running move they see. Hey, you run that handoff with the reverse coming back to Thomas Harris, and you have a big play to get you in the red zone and in scoring position once again.
And now a timeout is being called by Alabama A&M. 4:43 is the time remaining in the third quarter. 12-7. Bulldogs over the Golden Lions. Last night, the SWAC Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. You see some of the people there. There's Kenny Burrows, 00 from New Orleans, Doug Williams, Shaq Harris, now with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Everson Walls, former Grambling great and a member of the Dallas Cowboys. And we heard from him at halftime with Jay Walker. And as I was mentioning, two players from the SWAC, Walter Payton, Ricky Santos, the New Hampshire quarterback, won the Payton Award this year. Kyle Shotwell from Cal Poly won the Buchanan Award as the top players in all of 1AA. And I want to also say last night the 1AA or Division I championship, I should say, took place. Appalachian State comes out victorious. They beat UMass. So we want to say congratulations to Coach Jerry Moore, who his team finished the season 14-1. And not only did his team win the championship, but he also was named the Eddie Robinson winner as this year's Division I Coach of the Year.
Yeah, definitely congratulations to that App State program, back-to-back national championships.
Second year in a row as they turn the corner with Nick Luke, and Nick Luke is run out of bounds at about the 8-yard line. And they have a young man up there at Appalachian State by the name of Kevin Richardson, who ran last night for 179 yards and 4 touchdowns. Broke the record for touchdowns in a season. He has 30 now.
Yeah, I mean, I watched ESPN this morning. It was his personal highlight show. This kid had a huge game, and he just couldn't be stopped. And you need someone to step up in those type of games to make a big impact. And so you say in this game, who's that guy going to be? I mean, Kelsey Luke is injured now. I mean, we changed quarterbacks from Jonathan Moore to Chris Wallace with Arkansas Pine-Bluff. So we haven't really said who's going to be the big guy to make that play in this football game.
And the handoff to Nick Luke. Nick Luke is stopped right at about the 7-yard line. Not much running room there for him, as Anton Williams came up to make the stop.
With this A&M rushing attack, I mean, they're just trying to go downhill. That's a good job of Justin Bass stepping up and making a tackle. I mean, he was a second-team all-conference linebacker, the leader of this Arkansas Pine-Bluff defense. And if you notice, the last 10 or 12 plays ever since Stanley Allen, the quarterback, has been in the back in this football game, has been all runs. So this is a situation from a defensive standpoint. Yeah, you have to watch the play action, but I want to really try to defend this run. In the red zone, Alabama A&M kind of struggling all year long, 3 or 4 today, and only 2 field goals and a touchdown.
9th play of the drive, first pass into the end zone, incomplete. In and out of the hands of Kevin Francis. And defending on the play for Arkansas Pine-Bluff was Hassani Houston.
Yeah, and you have to catch that ball. I mean, Stanley Allen is coming to this game as the backup quarterback, and this is what you want him to do. The guy is open. He delivers the ball. Kevin Francis, the senior, you have to make that touchdown grab to give your team a big play and have that momentum to finish out this game. He didn't help his quarterback out in that situation. It may wind up costing him as they get into this 3rd down situation inside the red zone.
They spread him out wide, and they work from the shotgun this time. Obvious passing situation. Here's the quarterback. He's going to take it, and he's going to run. Turns the corner. Tried to. He spun out of one tackle, but he was tattooed when he turned around by Keith. John Keith tattooed him.
Yeah, and that's a great play by Coach Jones, because you don't want to let this young man make a mistake where you take points off of the board. So just run a quarterback draw, something safe. Hey, if you score a touchdown, it's a plus. If not, take the points with the field goal. He does the smart thing. Hey, just get up behind my big guy, see if I can make something happen, and protect the football, no fumble. Turn it into the hands of Jeremy Lycia, who's 2 of 3 today and is having a pretty good kicking afternoon.
24-yard field goal attempt for Lycia. This one is up. It looks like it is good. So he's hit 3 field goals this afternoon and gives his team an 8-point advantage, 15-7, with 2 minutes to go here in the third quarter. Not a bad day for the young man who had kicked only 3 field goals, had attempted only 3 in the whole season. The last one was in the 3rd game of the season. He's already, what, kicked 4 today or attempted 4 today?
I mean, he's attempted 4 today. I mean, I tell you what, he's going to need an IV after the football game because he's not used to working this hard. I mean, he's been on the sideline all year long. But that's what we're talking about, the unlikely hero. We asked both coaches, who's that guy who may step up and make a big play in this situation to do something that he hasn't done all year? And I tell you what, so far right now, that guy's Jeremy Lassie. I mean, if you attempt 3 field goals all year long, and today you're 3 or 4 in a tight ball game, I mean, that is a huge difference in this football game for him to put those 9 points on the board for Alabama A&M.
And he's just a freshman from Ventura, California. See, they weren't even expecting to have any kicking problems this year. There was a young man named Osorio who they expected to come back this year. Osorio decided he wasn't going to come back to school, so they were stuck basically with a pair of freshmen in Quilar, who was a freshman, a redshirt freshman, who's their punter and does the kicking off. And this one goes out of bounds once again for the 2nd time today. And, of course, Jeremy Lassie, a freshman out of Ventura, California. So it has paid off. It has paid dividends for Alabama A&M today. Offsides. Kicking out of bounds. Ball out to the 35. Go ahead and tell me.
35-yard line.
ESPNU's coverage of college basketball continues with a doubleheader later this evening. Versus 6 Eastern, the Arizona State Sun Devils face the Xavier Musketeers. Then at 8 Eastern, the Hawkeyes of Iowa face the Drake Bulldogs. Holiday Hoops presented by K Jewelers on ESPNU tonight. For more information, log on to ESPNU.com. From their own 35-yard line, Pine Bluff. Here's a pass dropped in and out of the hands of the intended receiver that time. Boy. Let's look at the quarterback comparison.
Yeah, you have to get some help from your wide receivers in that situation. And here you can see that Jonathan Moore, I mean, started off 3 of 8, but he did have that 1 44-yard touchdown completion. So far, Chris Wallace, he's completed 1 pass, but it's been to the other team. So he has to get things going. I mean, this is a guy who has big numbers on the year, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, but time is somewhat running out. At the end of this third quarter, he has to start making some plays.
And the pressure's coming up the middle. Johnny Baldwin coming after him, and he has him. Johnny Baldwin, the man on the spot, he comes up with a big sack. He came into the game as the leading tackler and the 3rd leading tackler in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and that is his 4th sack of the year.
Yeah, and Johnny Baldwin has been quiet all day. Here they just run a cross stunt where the 2 linebackers cross, but Johnny Baldwin, once he gets you in the scope and the sights, he's not going to miss. I mean, I can't say enough about the type of player this guy has been all year long and throughout his career. This is the 2nd season being consecutive All-SWAC player. They really felt like he should have been the Defensive Player of the Year, and he has a strong argument with the 99 total tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, another one there, and an interception. Just a great player who's putting a very good, strong finish on a great college career.
12-yard loss on the sack. Wallace stepping up, hit as he throws. Man catches it down the sideline, but it should not be a completion because the player stepped out of bounds and came back in. That was Dedrick Poole. It's incomplete. He went out of bounds and came back in and made the catch. Yeah. So it is not going to be a completion.
But he shows you the type of player he can be. I mean, he's a big play.
So he's out of bounds
also,
now.
But once they throw the black hat, I mean, he's clearly 2 or 3 yards out of bounds. The referee saw it right there. And
well, he was ready to electrify this crowd. We talked about Dedrick Poole earlier, and what he's been able to do. 29 receptions coming in. He's been held kind of quiet today, but the player went out of bounds and came back in and made the catch. And that is a good call by the officials.
Keep in mind, Pine Bluff lives by the big play, and that's what really bit Alabama A&M in the first game. Pine Bluff was able to make those big plays to Dedrick Poole and to Jason Jones. And today, I mean, the one score that Pine Bluff has had has been the 44-yard touchdown pass to Jason Jones. So if A&M can play this fourth quarter by not giving up the big play to Pine Bluff, I think they have an excellent chance to pull out the victory and win their first ever conference title.
So they'll punt it away from their own 23-yard line. Fair catch being called for and made right at about the 47-yard line. So good field position once again for Alabama A&M. And a couple of mistakes by Arkansas Pine-Bluff. An opportunity that was missed earlier in the ball game in terms of interceptions by Stuart Frank. He had an opportunity. As you see, Chris Wallace over on the sideline. He had a good pass downfield with 28 seconds to go here in the third quarter to Dedrick Poole, one of his top return men or receivers. But he went out of bounds.
And it looks like Alabama A&M is going to have Stanley Allen to finish off this ball game as he's in for his third consecutive possession.
And this time Tamar Scott tries to go to the right side, and John Keith was there to make the stop defensively. And that's going to be the end of the third quarter. 15 minutes left in this one. The SWAC Championship in Birmingham, Alabama. And we talked about Arkansas Pine-Bluff. There's the missed opportunity by Stuart Franks. But on the other end, it was Nelson taking advantage, which was turned into points by Tamar Scott. Alabama A&M out front.
The NCAA Women's Basketball Championship.
We're at Legion Field in Birmingham.
Charlie, just to follow up on Eddie's thoughts about Kelsey Luke, the training staff at Alabama A&M tried to put an ankle brace on Kelsey. It did not take. He was in too much pain and discomfort. Prognosis, Kelsey Luke is finished for the rest of this SWAC championship game.
Unfortunately for him, but I'll tell you, Stanley Allen has not done a bad job. Along with Jay Walker and Eddie Robinson, I'm Charlie Neal as we start the fourth quarter here at Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama for the SWAC championship. And Alabama A&M with the ball. And here's the quarterback, Stanley Allen. But, yeah, he hasn't hurt them. He didn't fumble that football, but he was really hit that time by Aaron Hentz. And here's a young man that also was suspended for the first half of today's ball game. He did not play into the second half, and now he's already made his presence felt. Yeah, I mean, you can look at big Aaron Hentz. I mean, there's a guy, he's one of those big guys who has that alligator speed. What I mean by that, he's the big guy. He won't catch it in the 40-yard dash, but a short yard, that big fella can move. And you can tell 27 tackles and the tackle for loss. He put all of that 300 and something pounds on top of Stanley Allen. And you don't want your backup quarterback taking too many hits like that, Charlie, because I don't know who they have as far as a third-string guy. Right. Third down and 11 right now. Here's Allen rolling to the left. Trying to turn the corner, cuts it inside and slides down. He's about 2 yards shy of the first down marker, tackled by Aaron Eugene. Jay.
You know what, Eddie, one of the things that's just bewildering to me is the fact that they've got a backup quarterback that's in the game, yet Arkansas Pine-Bluff is still playing a very conservative zone-type defense. They're afraid to load the box and attack the running game for Alabama A&M, which led to the drive they had on the last one. So I wonder, at what point do you take off the gloves and make the backup quarterback throw some passes to beat you?
Yeah, Jay, you're exactly right. I mean, if I'm coaching this game from a Pine Bluff standpoint, I'm going to have 9 and 10 guys in the box, almost play a goal line, because they've only attempted one pass in the red zone situation, and they're not going to let the kid make a mistake with the passing game.
So a punting situation, and the ball is fair caught down to the 19-yard line by Dedrick Poole. As we look at the total yards, Arkansas Pine-Bluff just 80 yards. Alabama A&M 291 total yards in this ball game.
Yeah, and you definitely don't expect that. I mean, Arkansas Pine-Bluff coming into this game leading the conference in scoring with 29.1 points per game. You just don't think that they're going to have that type of an off day. Of course, they had to switch with quarterbacks from Jonathan Moore to Chris Wallace, but you would think that they would get something going at some point. Hey, Alabama A&M, they're doing just what they always do. They're controlling the clock, running the football, making a big pass play here or there with 291 total yards, and they're going to look for their defense to try to finish out this ball game.
First down and 10 at their own 21-yard line now. Arkansas Pine-Bluff. Here's Chris Wallace throws, and this is batted at the line of scrimmage and knocked down. And you know, we talk about how these two teams mirror each other in a lot of ways. You look at Monty Coleman, who's the defensive coordinator for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. He was a professional teammate with the Redskins of Anthony Jones, the head coach of Alabama A&M. You look at the defensive lineman or starting tackle, Justin Harper, his dad, that is for Alabama A&M. His dad is the defensive line coach for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. So there's a lot of things going on. And the two head coaches are both from the same fraternity. They're both Omega Psi Phi's. Anthony Jones and Mo Forte. Jay, you want to add to that a little bit?
Yeah. I think that, you know, one of the key talk about the two teams that mirror each other is the fact that they both got a number of seniors on this team. For Alabama A&M, they've got 15 seniors. Arkansas Pine-Bluff has 16 seniors. But that's where the mirrors end each other right there, because Alabama A&M, out of their 15 seniors, most of those guys have been with the program for 3 years or more. When you talk about Arkansas Pine-Bluff, out of their 16 seniors, most of those guys have been with the program for a year, like a guy like Derek Poole, or for 2 years or less, like the number of junior college transfers they have on the team. So although they both have senior leadership, two different styles. At Alabama A&M, it's all in the family, homegrown talent. At Arkansas Pine-Bluff, they've got players from Arkansas, California, all over the map, loaded with junior college transfers.
And that makes for interesting marriage when you know, a lot of coaches stay away from a lot of junior college and Division I transfers because they say you're only, bringing in somebody else's problems. They like to build from the ground up. And unlike the college ranks in terms of basketball at major Division I levels where you're recruiting for 2 years, at this level you're recruiting for 4 years.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years, and those fifth-year seniors is where you really start to develop and get a kid to play extremely well.
Here's the quarterback, decides to keep it and stumbles forward to about the 26-yard line, a gain of about 4 yards on the play, where it'll be third down and about 4.
If you look at Arkansas Pine-Bluff, I mean, just with the guys that they have returning, they do have a lot of seniors, but they have a lot of seniors who aren't in key roles, where you have a Chris Wallace who's coming back next year, and also a backup quarterback in Jonathan Moore. You have a Martell Mallett who's only a sophomore, then a Mickey Dean who was the leading rusher from the year before who's injured, and everyone tells me he's just as good as Martell Mallett. So they'll be stockpiled on offense looking into 2007 for Pine-Bluff.
Mickey Dean was supposed to be the starter, and here's a sack, the second sack of the afternoon for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. They've been sacked twice. This time it was Kevin Lockhart who came through. Big number 95 and 96 there. Dominique Cummings.
Yeah, I mean, they just didn't block him. His turn protection, and nobody accounted for Dominique Cummings, and they had a chance to block him because he almost jumped offside, so he took a step up. Obviously, a breakdown in pass protection by Arkansas Pine-Bluff. I'm sure that Chris Wallace is sensing the frustration of not completing the pass, not being able to move the offense. They just have to settle him down and realize you're one big play away from getting right back in this football game.
And that's one of the things I prefaced the second half. Is he too excited? Is he trying to do too much?
Yeah, and that's the problem.
This one will take a bounce across midfield, but again, it'll give Alabama A&M great field position. 11:20 the time remaining, 15-7 our score, an 8-point advantage.
At mealtime, everyone's in a hurry and everyone wants something different. So how can you make everyone happy?
15-7 our score. As you look at Chris Wallace, who didn't play in the first half, he is 0 for 5 passing in the second half, and maybe a lot of people may be saying Jonathan Moore may come back in. How about it, Jay?
Well, you know, I think that's a key question. And watching this Arkansas Pine-Bluff offense in the second half, they've been least effective in the second half than they were in the first. And I know you want to have more veteran leadership in there, but Eddie, I think the question becomes, do you try and use the young kid to get there to jumpstart your offense again? Seeing that in the second half, the offense has been stagnant.
Yeah, and that's a great question, but if it's me, I would have to stick with Chris Wallace just because he's done so much all year long. Jonathan Moore did have a decent first half. He had one big play, but I think Chris Wallace will get this thing turned around before the game is over.
I know Mo Forte is hoping so. And this time it's Nick Luke trying to go to the right side as he turns the corner. He's knocked out of bounds finally by Justin Bass, number 54, on the far sideline. And we're down to the 11-minute mark here in the fourth quarter. Nick Luke has put up some pretty good numbers also for himself today. 57 yards on 9 carries. Now we have a player injured on the far sideline. I think it's a Pine-Bluff player, and he's a little slow getting up, and that is Justin Bass, number 54 there. The senior, number 1 tackle on the team. Remember, you're talking about these seniors. This is their last time they'll be playing college football.
And for most of these guys, like you said, it's their last time, not only college football, but forever playing football.
Yeah, playing football. I mean, there are a couple players on this Alabama A&M's defense that are going to be invited to play, have been invited to play in the Magnolia Classic. That'll be played next Saturday down in Jackson, Mississippi. And that is Kevin Lockhart and Johnny Baldwin. Of course, you wouldn't expect no less.
Yeah,
you got to play in a postseason All-Star game, right?
Definitely with Johnny Baldwin. I mean, these guys are big-time players.
This time, Nick Luke again trying to turn the left side, gets across down inside the 45 to the 40-yard line. So Nick Luke being the workhorse here late in this ball game as the running attack has done them pretty good.
Yeah, and look at Travis O'Neal. I mean, this is a guy, a fullback, doesn't get a lot of carries, but man, he's repeatedly blocking for Nick Luke and also Tamar Scott. He's the guy that's allowing these guys to get those 1,200 combined yards as a player. And the fullback job is often thankless. You know, you have those guys like Lorenzo Neal in the NFL who I played with. They just go about their day and just knock into those linebackers and don't get a pat on the back. But trust me, Travis O'Neal is leading this rushing attack just as much as the guys who are carrying the football.
You know, we spend a lot of time in this ball game as Nick Luke gets the call again, talking about statistics between these two teams and who's the number 1 in this and who's number 2 in that and who's the best defense and best offensive points and all of that. But it all comes down to what you do today. Forget about all the other things that you did in the previous 11 games. It's what you do in the 60 minutes in game 12.
Yeah, in this last 10 minutes. And both coaches really had that sentiment echoed all during the week. Like, hey, it comes down to one big football game and who's going to make plays today. So you can see Nick Luke in his final game as a collegiate, 12 rushes, 71 yards, trying to put a cap on what he hopes to be a good situation for the whole A&M family. But Pine Bluff, hey, just as up to the task. I mean, I think this is a game where both teams feel like they should win, and both teams absolutely deserve to win this football game. But you only have one SWAC champ at the end of the day.
And, of course, Anthony Jones has been here 2 other times before this pass. And it's caught and out of bounds by Kevin Francis inside the 10. They'll mark it at about the 7-yard line. It'll be first and goal, Alabama A&M.
Wow, great touch by Stanley Allen, attempting only his 2nd pass today on the rollout. I thought he was just going to take it and try to run, but he does put it up in the air. Kevin Francis stretching out for this pass. Keep in mind, he dropped the earlier touchdown. Great job by him to come back and make up for that drop with a big fingertip grab going on the sideline, putting Alabama A&M in scoring position once again. If they can get this thing in the end zone, they may close the door on the Pine Bluffs.
That would give them a pretty good advantage right now. And they're leading it by 8 points with 9:34 to go. They've been the bridesmaid in this championship game, but never the bride. And they're hoping to break that streak of 0-3 in the championship today. And as Nick Luke takes it down to the 5, a gain of 2. Well, they say it's a fumble. That's the Arkansas Pine-Bluff players, but the officials are not saying it, that he fumbled the ball. We haven't seen any kind of signal from the referees, the men in the striped shirts, and they're the ones that matter. They're saying he held on to it, and it'll be 2nd down.
This is a situation where Pine Bluff defense, you have to stand up and be tough and try to make Alabama A&M attempt another field goal. I mean, you know you're going to get consecutive running plays, maybe an option or something by the quarterback. If they put it in the air, it's going to be something quick and easy that he can complete. But you have to try to stop the run first if you're Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Hyatt is the up back in the eye. Tamar Scott, the tailback. The pitch to Tamar Scott, trying to go left. Turns the corner, hit by 1 man, hit by 2, and he's in the end zone for a touchdown. Boy, he just broke a couple tackles, and now we're going to get an excessive celebration penalty, I believe. There's a flag down for Alabama A&M. But more importantly, the lead is stretched to 21-7.
Wow, very determined run by Tamar Scott with the toss. Didn't look like he had a chance of getting into the end zone when he first caught that football, but that's just a guy with an individual effort, a senior, knowing what it takes to get into the end zone and complete this touchdown drive for Alabama A&M.
That's a 6-play, 53-yard drive. And they use 2:44 off the clock.
A lot of discussion going on by the referees right now.
And this comes with 8:35 to go in the ball game. And Tamar Scott with his first touchdown of the day.
After the play was over, with an unspoken right, taunting against the offense.
I call it excessive celebration. They call it taunting. It's the same thing. It's still a 15-yard penalty, and they'll probably enforce it on the ensuing kickoff. But they're gonna, or are they gonna enforce it?
Touchdown's good. After the play, we had unsportsmanlike taunting against the offense. We penalized on the kickoff.
On the kickoff, so they'll kick the extra point, or attempt to kick the extra point, or go for the 2-point conversion. Let's see what they are doing. They bring Lycée in, and he's going to go for the point after by way of the kick and try to make this a 15-point ball game, 22-7. It's up through the uprights, and it's good. 22-7. Tamar Scott. First of all, the big catch by Kevin Francis. That put them in good field position. Then Tamar Scott breaks a tackle there. And another one. We might have had a hold on Moody. We'll be back. (22-7), fourth trip to the SWAC championship for Alabama A&M in the last 8 years, and they've never won. And Jay, this would mean a lot for Coach Anthony Jones to win this one.
Yeah, when I actually had an opportunity to talk to head coach Jones about the importance of a SWAC championship victory compared to the other things he's accomplished in life, he said this would mean more. I won a Super Bowl with the Washington Redskins. I won a MEAC title at South Carolina State. But to win a SWAC championship here at Alabama A&M would be undeniably the biggest achievement I've ever had. The reason being, he said, when I played for the Redskins, they had a tradition of going to the Super Bowl and winning. When I won a championship at South Carolina State, they had a tradition of winning championships. To build a program from the bottom up and win a championship at Alabama A&M would be life's accomplishment.
Well, sometimes you need those types of things, and they've got a lot of incentive and a good return, and we're going to get a late hit against Alabama A&M on a return man who was hit late out of bounds.
Wow, Arkansas Pine-Bluff is going to get this ball at the 25-yard line after the penalty is excess. So you're talking about a very short distance. If they can get in the end zone, it's a lot more football still to play in this game.
Jonathan McConaughey, that's the young man you see there. He was guilty of the infraction of the late hit out of bounds as he went off the field. And as you said, they're going to mark the ball down.
Late hit out of bounds, number 21 red, 15-yard penalty, first down.
So we'll look at it once again as you look at Jonathan McConaughey, a little special teams play. We've had 2 late hit penalties, one against each team, and here it is right now. As you see the player being slung down to the ground. That was Jason Jones on the return. On the short kick.
And that's an easy call by the referee. I mean, he's past the white into the second strike.
Not
so
only past the white,
the
he's in the bench, right?
But you have to realize, I mean, it's a situation where they had a 15-yard penalty for excessive celebration or taunting after the touchdown, which backed them up for the kick. Then they get another 15-yard penalty tacked onto the run. It's 30 yards of penalties that's putting Pine-Bluff in this position at the 25-yard line.
First time today they started that deep into territory as Jason Jones gets the catch on the far sideline, takes it down to about the 18-yard line. And we'll watch the catch by Jason Jones.
Yes, Chris Wallace makes his first completion on the day, and maybe that will settle him down and get things going. You have to keep in mind, Pine-Bluff is averaging 29 points a game, and they're having 342 total yards of offense per game. So the 7 points that they have on the board today is not indicative of the type of offensive explosion that they've been having all season long.
No, indeed. The left-handed quarterback rolls to the left. Tries to turn the corner, goes out of bounds at about the 16-yard line. He's very close, maybe a yard shy of the first down mark. You see the first down line there. He had to get to about the 10-yard line, and he's knocked out at about the 11.
Now, during the kickoff after the touchdown, I saw Coach Jones over there talking to Johnny Baldwin. And this is a guy who's a team leader, a senior. He's been around your program 4 years, two-time all-conference selection. I mean, this is when you need him and his defensive players to step up and make a big play. You want to close the door on Arkansas Pine-Bluff right now. If you don't let them get in the end zone from Alabama A&M standpoints, it's probably not enough time on the board for them to score twice and win this football game.
It'll be 3rd and 2. Wallace under pressure. Mullen chasing him. Lets it go, and his interference. No flag.
There it goes.
Oh,
late
finally.
Flag. Woo. Stuck in his pocket.
Frank Moore. I don't know how they could miss that one.
Well, I tell you, Mo Forte would have been out of the booth and onto the field had they not called that interference.
He said that's
penalty
why
right
he's
there.
glad he's in the booth. He doesn't. They don't chase the referees up and down the sideline. And look at the pressure there. Mullen putting the pressure on. And that interference penalty.
Half the distance to the goal.
First down. Frank Moore was the man draped all over the Pine Bluff receiver.
And keep in mind, man, the Pine Bluff fans were sitting down trying to keep warm for this whole second half because they're on the shady side of the field. And all of a sudden they're up. The black and gold pom-poms are waving. I mean, they had a huge contingency traveling down from Pine Bluff. I mean, in the hotel last night, it was just Pine Bluff people everywhere. Of course, A&M is only an hour away, so I'm sure most of those fans drove up today. But, I mean, it's a large contingency from Pine Bluff, and now they're back up cheering. And the momentum is starting to switch to the Golden Lions if they can score on this possession.
Rolling left. Chris Wallace tries to turn it back inside. Johnny Baldwin was there to make the hit on him, along with Marcus Black, the strong safety. And we talk about the fact that 2 turnovers have resulted in 9 points for Alabama A&M. It would be a 13-7 game. The first turnover, a fumble in the first quarter, resulted in a 28-yard field goal by Alabama A&M. And then in the third quarter, an interception by Alabama A&M resulted in a 14-yard run by Tamar Scott, who has 2 touchdowns rushing in today's ball game. And those are they failed on the 2-point conversion, so those are the 9 points that Alabama A&M was able to put up because of turnovers. Wallace under pressure, a lot of red jerseys around him, and he goes down. A loss all the way back to the 20, led by Avery Mullen.
I tell you, what can you say about this A&M defense? I mean, they're up to the task. I mean, they're bringing pressure. You have to like what they're doing with Coach Bronski Towns as far as bringing pressure off the edge. Hey, don't sit back and let this guy come in here and feel comfortable. He hasn't played all game. Johnny Baldwin, I mean, Mullen, all of those guys. I mean, 2 turnovers coming into this game. This defense has been tough ever since I've played against Alabama A&M, and ever since I've known Bronski Towns. He's been around a long time, and he really gets these guys up to play. And they want to win this game on defense right now. You don't want to give up a score and have to have something else happen. You can control your own destiny if you're on the A&M defense.
There's a throw into the end zone. This may be picked off. Intercepted for a touchback. And coming up is Maurice Thomas, the freshman out of Bessemer, Alabama. So the 3rd turnover of the ball game. That was a 3rd down and 20 play. And it'll be a touchback brought out to the 20. He has started today in place of Stephen Tucker at the corner, who has missed 4 games because of an ankle sprain. And Mr. Thomas, the freshman, did not disappoint.
It's that time of year again, and ESPNU has a holiday hoop special you won't want to.
22-7 our score, and we talked about Arkansas Pine-Bluff being in the +7 category when it came to turnovers. They've turned the ball over 3 times already today, and it has hurt them.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Wallace, I mean, he came into the game through 2 interceptions. The first one to number 23, Antonio Nelson. And this second one, I mean, hey, this is just a bad throw. If he throws this ball to the back pylon, this should be a touchdown. You give your receiver a chance to make that catch. Of course, it was picked off by number 36, Maurice Thomas. Terrible numbers for Chris Wallace coming into the game in the second half. I mean, but on the year, you have to point out 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, was leading the conference in passing efficiencies. Definitely having an off day in this second half.
No question about it. So Alabama A&M gets the ball once again at their own 20-yard line, and only 19 turnovers for Arkansas Pine-Bluff coming into this ball game in the 11 previous ball games and 3 today.
Yeah, I mean, they led the...
Number 64 on offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Yeah, they led the conference in turnover margin at +7, as we stated earlier. But right behind them was Alabama A&M at +5. So, I mean, you're looking at two teams who did a great job of protecting the ball and getting turnovers all year long. I mean, both of these coaches talked about that. And also, you have to look at the consistency that Alabama A&M has had with the change of quarterback. I mean, Stanley Allen hasn't played all year long. For him to come in and effectively run his offense, it's been amazing.
It certainly has. They've done a pretty good job of protecting him. But I think you also have to give Stan Connor, the offensive coordinator, some credit for the type of plays and situations they put this young man in.
Yeah, and I mean, both coaches, Coach Jones, Mo Forte, they've been around, they've played in Super Bowls and everything like that. And they said, hey, we come out here with a game plan as coaches, and it never goes to script. Something is always going to happen on your way back from the grocery store when you're a coach. And today, I mean, look at Kelsey Luke. He's knocked out of the football game. You have to go with a Stanley Allen. So then you have to go from your 5 wide receiver set in the first half to running the football in the second half. So A&M has made that transition a little bit better than Pine-Bluff has as far as the adjustments in the football game.
And they keep the ball on the ground, trying to run the clock down. It's under 5 minutes now. Don't forget to lace up your skates for college hockey action. It comes your way on ESPNU tomorrow when the Michigan Tech Huskies skate it out against the Fighting Sioux of North Dakota. It's college hockey on ESPNU tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. And for more information, log on to ESPNU.com. You know, you talk about the SWAC and all the players have come through here. There are 10 former players in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Grambling, of course, leads the way with 4 players in the Hall of Fame: Willie Brown, Willie Davis, Buck Buchanan, and Charlie Joyner. Jackson State has 3 with Walter Payton, Lynn Barney, and Jackie Slater. Alabama A&M, represented by John Stallworth. Kenny Houston represents Prairie View, and Mel Blunt represents Southern University. So there's been some great names that come through here in terms of those who are not in the Hall of Fame, and we just talked about the ones that made the Hall of Fame.
You know, of course, I'm biased. I mean, I'm a SWAC guy, so I'm always expecting us to have more players in that Hall of Fame. I mean, needless to say, Jerry Rice will be in the Hall of Fame just as soon as his 5 years is up. But you also have guys like Everson Walls, a guy who led the league in interceptions as a rookie.
And you always think about the people who helped make this conference where it is. And we talked to Dr. James Frank at halftime, and you look at people like Eddie Robinson and Marino Cassim and John Merritt and Billy Nix and people like that who coached for so many years and made this conference the conference that it is. And of course, we're in Birmingham, Alabama. We're at Legion Field, and this is the 8th edition of the SWAC Football Championship. Along with Eddie Robinson and Jay Walker, I'm Charlie Neal, and glad you could be with us for this one. And of course, Alabama A&M, they were in this championship game last year. They lost to Grambling State University. They've been in this championship game 4 times in previous years. This is the 3rd time under Coach Anthony Jones, and it looks, with the time remaining on the clock, barring some unforeseen miracle that Arkansas Pine-Bluff comes back and scores a lot of points, that the jinx has been broken, that Alabama A&M will walk away with their first SWAC championship. Arkansas Pine-Bluff, though, you have to take your hat off to them. Here's a team that was expected to finish 4th at the beginning of the season as far as the preseason pick in the SWAC, and they came out, they won the Western Division, and they make their first ever appearance in the SWAC championship game, and more importantly, they reel off 7 straight wins to get here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a disappointing season for either team. Unfortunately, someone always has to lose that last football game, so both teams have made a lot of strides this year.
Let's go down to Jay.
You know, you talk about the job that University of Arkansas Pine-Bluff did just getting to the SWAC championship. You know, this was a team that was 3-8 last year and turning around to go 8-3 this year. It'll be 8-4 if they lose this football game. And they've overcome a lot. In the middle of the season, we talked about Coach Forte and his health issues, but for all those Pine-Bluff fans, don't worry about the coach. He's healthy, and, you know, he reiterated the fact that over the course of 40 years, I've only missed 2 games coaching from the sidelines, and that was in 1995 when he had a battle with prostate cancer when he was with the NFL. So the future's still bright for Pine-Bluff. They've got plenty of young players that are coming back, and it's been a dream season for the Golden Lions.
And here's Chris Wallace throwing on first down, has it complete and out of bounds on the near side to Jason Jones, 5th in the nation in receiving yards per game, leads the SWAC in that department. 98 yards. He had a 98-yard touchdown against Southern Illinois.
And Charlie, you talked earlier about the jinx being broken for Alabama and A&M. Keep in mind that all 3 of their SWAC title game losses have been to Grambling State. So I guess now that the G-men on their opponent, they can get a victory.
Yeah. I think they would have rather, not that they care who they play and who they beat, but it would have been nice if they could have played Grambling in this game. We saw Melvin Spears, who was in attendance here, the coach at Grambling State University. And if you're going to beat anybody, let's beat the team that's kept us out of the championship, getting that championship for the last 3 years.
I tell you what, from a standpoint of a player or a coach, you don't care who you beat. You just want to win that title.
That's right, like being in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
You don't care who you're playing against as the quarterback. Wallace decides to keep it, and he's run out of bounds and stopped by Johnny Baldwin right in front of the Arkansas Pine-Bluff bench. But a first down is gained, and the Shanes move forward with 3:01 to go in the contest.
You got to like Johnny Baldwin. Just look at the way this guy finishes the football game. I mean, he's all the way on the sideline making that last stop. I mean, today 10 tackles, a sack. I mean, another time you saw him playing here and he won the MVP against Alabama State. I mean, this kid is just all over the field. I really like the type of player he's developed into.
The throw to Mallett, and Mallett is down inside the 30 to about the 28-yard line.
You know, Eddie had an opportunity to talk to Coach Jones, and, you know, they're having a dream season, and it looks like a lot of things are going right for the Bulldogs. He said the biggest disappointment, though, has been Johnny Baldwin, and not in his play. He thinks he's had a tremendous year, but the fact that people could not oversee the last loss of the season at Prairie View A&M, he really feels that cost Baldwin the Defensive Player of the Year in the conference honors, and, you know, as a detriment. They lost that game 13-7 to Prairie View A&M, but the defense did not give up a point. So he really feels the case that Johnny Baldwin is clearly the Defensive Player of the Year in the SWAC conference.
And of course, the Defensive Player of the Year was Stacey Thomas from Texas Southern. And not to take away anything from Stacey Thomas, who's a great defensive back and had a great year. I mean, but this kid, Johnny Baldwin, you just look, 2-time all-conference selection. Every time I see him play, he does something else spectacular. He's all over the field, just makes big plays all over, and is a great team leader. And I definitely understand why they feel like he was slighted. And they don't get a lot of chances to play. They only do 50 or 55 plays of defense a game.
No question about it. And you talk about Johnny Baldwin, named Defensive Player of the Week twice this year. Week 1 against Tennessee State, Week 9 against Alabama State. So, of course, he's put up some great numbers. And as you see, Mullen, who made the stop on the last play. But here's a young man, no question about it, should and probably we'll see on Sundays in next year.
I think he'll get a chance to compete at the next level. He's somewhat undersized. You know, you have Robert Mathis, who came from the same program, who was an undersized defensive end, but extremely fast. I mean, Johnny Baldwin has the height, just a little bit light as far as about 220, 225 pounds to be an NFL linebacker. But, hey, you can coach size and you can get a guy bigger, but you can't coach speed and talent, and that's what he has. So, I mean, you can add him to your roster, put 10 pounds on this guy, and he can be an NFL linebacker on Sunday, no doubt.
There's another young man on this Alabama A&M squad that we haven't really talked about today. As you see Anthony Jones talking to his quarterback, the backup quarterback on the sideline, and that's offensive lineman Christian Smith. He was one of 17 finalists for the Dratty Award, which honors the nation's top scholar athletes. He's a grad student at telecommunications. He's already got his degree in telecommunications, as that class is taken all the way down inside the 10 to about the 9-yard line, where it'll be 4th down for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. But
can't clock it, you have to go for it.
Yeah, Christian Smith, of course. Again, congratulations to him. Brian Leonard was the winner overall. We have a touchdown into the end zone, and finally Jason Jones gets there by way of the pass from Christian Smith. And that's the Christian Smith we've been waiting to see all game.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris Wallace, rather.
Yeah, I mean, the kid just had a rough start. I mean, I think not getting to play in that first half, he probably came into the second half, like Jay said. I mean, he's a former quarterback. He knows what it's like to come in this game and be too anxious, too excited, wanting to throw a 21-point touchdown instead of a 7-point touchdown. And he just wasn't able to settle down soon enough. You can see it's only 1 minute and 37 seconds left in the football game. Unfortunate for Arkansas Pine-Bluff, but A&M also had a great defensive effort the entire game.
So they're going to go for the 2-point conversion right now. Dedrick Poole, who they've held pretty much in check today, is in there. And here's a pass, and it's dropped. And they got the ball into the hands of that young man, number 87 for Arkansas Pine-Bluff, Demetrius Beverly, who caught a pass early in the contest, and Beverly just dropped what could have been a 2-point conversion.
You can see, look at Johnny Baldwin and these guys on the play before, just not really set. I mean, no one was really focused, and that's how you let a guy like a Jason Jones slip and get open. But I mean, you go for that 2-point conversion. Now the score is 22-13. You know, in my opinion, I think you would have been much better kicking the 1 point, to kick the extra point, make it 22-14, and you're only down by 8, so you have a chance to score on your next possession. I mean, now you make it a 2-possession game, and the game is eventually, you know, over with, because you can't get 2 more possessions in a minute and 37 seconds.
And of course, we know the onside kick is coming, so let's see if they can convert that. That is the trophy that these two teams are playing for. The 2006. It's the SWAC equivalent to the Lombardi Trophy in the NFL. So, you know, everybody has something to play for, and there's a goal at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very big deal. I mean, since you went into this East-West format and you have this SWAC championship game, I think it's...
And there's the onside kick recovered by Alabama A&M right at midfield, and it's recovered by Charles Moody, the man who got away with a holding penalty earlier. So did it go 10 yards? There's a penalty flag down. And, of course, Anthony Jones and his squad are saying that they're going to refuse the penalty if it's against Arkansas Pine-Bluff.
Bigger formation on the kicking team. What will be declined. First down.
We just look down to our left from our booth, and we see the Alabama A&M coaching staff, Broski Towns, the defensive coordinator who works from upstairs, and Connor also, and they're a very happy bunch right now. And there's the hammer. They're ready to put the 9th piece of tape on there for the season. There's James Hester, the strength and conditioning coach, who came up with the idea that they were going to hammer their way to the SWAC, through the SWAC, and they've hammered their way to their first ever SWAC championship.
And Charlie, no matter what level of football you play at, whether it's high school, NFL, college, whenever you win a championship, it's special. I mean, you're talking about a bunch of kids who've been competing together since July and August. And actually, Coach Jones said their goal was to get back to this game and win it. And they set that goal last year when they lost to Grambling in the SWAC championship game. So you're talking about 365 calendar days in a year where you had that focus as a team to come back and win this SWAC title game that you lost the last year.
Yeah, you asked Coach, you know, and you asked Anthony Jones, you know, when did you start getting ready for this one? He said when we were in the locker room after we lost last year.
Grambling.
Yeah,
exactly.
So they started preparing last year, and of course for the seniors, guys like Johnny Baldwin and Nick Luke and all of the other seniors on this Alabama A&M squad, Kevin Lockhart, and on the offensive side, Christian Smith, who's a grad school student, Chris Franklin, Jeff Johnson, all of those guys. We say congratulations. We say congratulations to Anthony Jones, who wins his first ever Southwestern Athletic Conference championship after 2 tries. This is the 3rd time for him, and he just got drenched. He just got the bath, the ice water bath, coming across the field, and there he is, congratulating Jonathan Cannon. Jonathan Cannon, who's the offensive coordinator, who's on the sideline for Mo Forte, who does his coaching from up in the booth. And let's go down to Jay, who's with a very, very happy Anthony Jones.
Coach Jones, you said the feeling would be undescribable. Describe your emotion.
I can't. You know, I'm so thankful for God for giving me a chance to have this opportunity. I'm so thankful for my kids, the way they played. I can't describe it. You know, I've been a part of a Super Bowl championship team before, and right now, this feeling right now I have is very, very hard to match as far as football is concerned.
You've been a winner as a player. Now you're a winner as a coach. What feels better?
I think as a coach, I work harder. You know, as a player, you put in the physical endurance and all that kind of stuff. But as a coach, you don't sleep. I've probably been averaging about 3 hours of sleep since we got here. This is something that I told my team that I wanted. I couldn't taste it. It was a part of me. It was just more than a taste. It was more than a feeling. It became a part of me. It consumed me, and it consumed my guys. And for us to be able to stand victorious here, I give thanks to God.
Well, Coach, go ahead and get some sleep. Let me be the first to congratulate you. Anthony Jones, head coach of the 2006 SWAC champion Alabama A&M Bulldogs.
Very much.
All right, congratulations to Anthony Jones. Eddie, your thoughts on today's game and the season for Alabama A&M?
Just a very successful professional season. I mean, Coach Jones has been around here. It's his 5th year in the program. Has definitely been one of the stellar coaches in the conference. After those 3 losses in the SWAC title game, it's just great to see this program to get to the point where you win your first ever SWAC championship game. And
don't count Arkansas Pine-Bluff out. They're young and they're going to be back, and they're a team to be reckoned with in years to come, because knowing Mo Forte, that's the way it's going to be. The final score, 22-13, Alabama A&M over Arkansas Pine-Bluff in the SWAC championship. Up next to look back at this year's Heisman Trophy winner. More information, log on to your new home for the finest in college sports, ESPNU.com. This has been a presentation of ESPN, a worldwide leader in sports. For Eddie Robinson, Jay Walker, and our entire ESPNU crew, Charlie Neal saying so long from Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama.